Welcome, everybody, for the first time on avian screens under the lights. It's the Henderson Graphics 400, race 2 of 3 in the round of 16 in the HTL Cup Series playoffs. Nighttime is the right time, but who gets to make magic under the lights here in Georgia? Welcome everyone to Avian Esports coverage, Avian Esports 1, here live tonight on Monday night. I'm Carmen, Sienna. Alongside me as always, Kevin Young from the intermediate that races like a super speedway. Not the largest crowd, and that may be a blessing. And we say not the largest crowd, still 29 cars in tonight's field. Everyone trying to do what this track has become renowned for, and that is create underdog first-time winners. It wasn't a first-time winner here in the spring. Hunter Peach getting his second career HTL Cup win here this spring. Has to be a favorite to repeat that success here tonight. But storied history here in Atlanta under its current configuration as we get ready to go. Qualifying coming up shortly, but Kevin, this track is a wild racetrack through and through. What are we expecting to see here tonight?
Well, you got to keep an eye on. This is one of those restrictor plate super speedway tracks that tires actually do end up mattering at least a little bit, where it can give that little extra grip to run that low line. And if we do see a bit of a tire differential late in this running, we could see that play a factor. Other than that, you're going to see cars using the low line as more of a passing lane and the high line is more of a lane to kind of hold and ride until we probably get to about 10 or 5 laps to go. Then everyone's holding their lane and not making moves to get out of position. But looking a little bit onward here, obviously last week was the start of the playoffs. We were at Darlington, and you can see right now, looking at the points right now, Josh Masosi still leading the way. But we got to note, you can see one driver in yellow. That is Lilac Sear. Even though technically she's not locked in yet, she has to make next week's race 2 for that win to officially count. As long as she starts the next 2 rounds, she's good to go and make the round of 8. Looking down, you can see it's Peach, Hall, Wygent, Height, Sharp, and Arnold last in. But you can see right now it's a dead heat between the two friends, you could say, in Josh Arnold and Zachary Meredith. Then it's a little bit, you see going down the rest of the line, Dean Clavitt, Eli Sassett, Blake Henderson, who had some trouble last week, Sad Swatsworth, Josh Gaiman, Alfred Denny, and then Jeremy Brout with the biggest hole to climb right now, currently sitting well back, needs a good race here tonight or find his way into victory lane if he wants to make a chance to make the round of 8. Because next week, after Kentucky, a track Carmen loves and knows so well, we are taking this 16 and slicing in half to 8 drivers.
Absolutely, and obviously a lot of talking points here throughout the 16. Obviously, Josh Susie, the biggest comfort position going into a race like Atlanta. You've got that biggest cushion. But it's not all said and done. We know there's a lot of plate track drivers that can do well here. We know that Dean Clavitt can do well on the plate track. So can Pacey Wygent. So can Jeremy Breo, the 2-time ARCS Daytona 500 winner. Suffering from mechanical issues, though. Keep an eye on that number 44 car to see if he can get to the finish here. That is step 1. Step 2, be competitive. And step 3, if you can, go for the race win. That's sort of where he's at right now, just in terms of just trying to recover something in this race. Josh Gaiman also did not have a good run at Darlington last week. Alfred Denny also needing a little bit of help, but this is a track that favors him a little bit better going into tonight. Qualifying is not terribly far away here in Atlanta, about 2 minutes in change from qualifying. You see Jeremy Bray out practicing pit entry. That's another big talking point. Pit entry tonight, not like what it was on Tuesday night for the HTL Hammer Down Truck Series. You have to come in off of turn number 3 and keep it below the white line on your entire approach to pit entry. Drivers practicing that. There's a couple of markers on the racetrack that should give drivers plenty of time to get that figured out for tonight's race. Also another driver we get to see on track for the first time in a while, DJ Anderson on track, filling in for the 5 car that's normally been driven by Seth Wansing. Anderson on his first race in a few weeks, getting the jump in. Currently 13th fastest as well, so he should be competitive in this pack. But of course, all eyes going to be on Josh Susie, the 81 car leading the points. Did not get the race win after a very chaotic and controversial race at Darlington a week ago. See what he can do here in Atlanta, a track that he's typically not well versed in. Stats don't favor him too awful well here in Georgia. But as the time continues to tick away, See who's on track here at the moment. It looks like a few drivers practicing pit entry. Zach Apperson's one of them. Looking just a little further on down here. Looks like that was Alfred Denny also coming in, and DeMonte Dotson also coming down pit lane here.
Caitlin Height's also doing it right now as well, as we'll see just in the tail end of that pack there. You can see that big red Ferrari 3 machine hitting the pit lane. But it also differs because in the spring race as well, they didn't have to take the backstretch as well. They could do 3 and 4. So obviously, new change. As you can see right there, the Mountain Dew machine going to get a little bit of a hook here. So drivers have to be careful, especially through that trial where we saw a couple times throughout both HTL and all the other series, as drivers gone a little wide, mowed down that trial wall, and ended up ping-ponging back onto the track. But practice officially concluded here in the next 6 seconds. Looks like clocks may be slightly different, but we are going to get ready to move on to qualifying here. Top of the charts, it'll be Sosi, Arnold, and Jones, as now we move on to qualifying, where these 29 drivers will attempt to be the fastest and set themselves up provisionally well for the main race.
Going to be a lot of fun here tonight as we get ready for qualifying. That's going to be happening in the daytime. So these drivers are going to have to get used to different conditions for their one flying lap. That's always going to be an exciting prospect here, looking into qualifying here for the Henderson Graphics 400. Pull up the ticker here. We'll see if we can gather some times. Yellow flag in the air at the moment, as drivers get themselves onto pit lane here. See, there's the 4 of Zach Apperson. There's the 55 of Caleb Carter for Stepping Stone Motorsports there. See if any other drivers line up here. Martin Roberg with a symbolic scheme in the 97 car tonight for Ascent Racing. A little bit different. You saw the 15 car.
Yeah, I was just about to say,
return. Callie Height will be the first one to set a qualifying lap time after having a bunch of technical issues, followed by travel issues. Now, the 15 car, the black and gold, back on track for the first time since early this season. It's been a rotating cast of drivers in the 8 car that typically has been hers, but now she's back on track. And in an uncharted car, but safe, because we're not above 36 cars at this point in the season. She'll begin her qualifying run now. So, Kelly Height, first time on track in HTL for a race in almost 2 months.
And this is where you got to wonder, with being out of the sim rig, out of everything else for about 2 months, it makes you wonder, is there going to be any rust that she's going to have to try to shake off here to try to get back to kind of speed? Now, obviously, Atlanta a bit different than maybe throwing her into the jungles of Watkins Glen or Kentucky or something. But it is still a track, and going high speed, especially not having that layaway off, could maybe see something different when the main race occurs. But right now, on her one flying lap, she's also now flanked by the 97 Roberg, who is now also out on the track as well, about to start his lap as well. So 2 cars will go in simultaneous succession around this track. How qualifying will go the quickest in that method. Looks like Callie having some slight latency issues. So it looks like she'll get that settled out, though, as she comes off of 3 and 4. Obviously, it's going to be the best time on the board, as she'll be the only car to set a time. But she'll set the time for the other cars to beat across the line. Going to be good enough for P1, obviously, 31.67. And now as Roberg comes to the last couple corners, as you can see, pit lane, very crowded place to be. Can Roberg bump Height off the top of the charts? Across the line he will go, and he will not. It will be a 31.76. So right now, front row of Height Roberg, but Height provisionally P1, as it looks like next car up is going to be the 19 of Byron Jones.
Yeah, Byron Jones leaving pit lane now. 2 cars leaving in tandem. Byron Jones, the next one to come out as we get ready to go. See what the 19 can do here on the racetrack. The entry list has increased, is now 31 cars getting ready to do battle here.
And this is where it gets interesting, is obviously there's different drivers out here that some are fighting for playoffs, others just here for the fun of it, some here to have a checker flag. Different motives coming into this. And with these plate races, you'll see it throughout the night. Some drivers will elect to kind of ride, others will be aggressive, others will just kind of do a middle point. And it makes you wonder, because with qualifying being somewhat important at the very least, because it lets you have a better pit stall selection, so you don't want to really, if you want to start in the back, you still want to make an attempt at a decent qualifying run, as Byron Jones now puts himself on the front row with a 31.72. But you want to give yourself a good qualifying spot just to get a good pit road spot, regardless of where you want to start this race, because that could make or break you late on, depending on the riding. So DJ Anderson going to come through the last couple corners as well. Where can he put the Busch Light number 5? Across the line he will put it, and it's going to be enough for P4. So out of the first 4 drivers already, Callie Height, she said, Caitlin we'll see later. Callie Height could only the quickest, but Roberg did have the personal best Sector 1, so these times can be beat. We'll see if anyone can do it. Is Gary Donaldson up next.
Gary Donaldson, the 22. Another fantastic looking paint scheme. Representing the local sponsor, Henderson Graphics. Blake Henderson, hometown race. Has never been successful here in Atlanta. Hampton, Georgia, an elusive racetrack for that 25 car. We'll see him later on as well. He did not have a great time at Darlington a week ago, despite having a fantastic stage 1 and 2. Fell apart in stage 3, pretty tragically. Gary Donaldson looking to try to break what is currently the longest winless drought in HTL competition, the longest tenured driver without a race win. Trying to change that at a track that Fords have notoriously been good at, even if this team hasn't been. Chance to change that tide ever still. Donaldson around turn number 4. See what time he gets. Can he dethrone Callie Height from the top of the board? The answer to that question is no. Close. 300ths though. Not terribly far away. See who's next on the board here. Looks like it's Mark Parkhurst coming across the line now. The 171.9 mile-an-hour lap time. That puts him P4 at the moment. And now we'll see the next line of cars begin to roll on the racetrack here.
Looks like the first of the 2 is going to be Kevin Gibney Jr. Looks like he's rocking the one who's rocking the old Steve Park scheme still, obviously running the throwback he ran at Daytona and also Darlington. Obviously hoping it brings him some good luck here in that number 1 machine. Other car will be Elias Flores in the number 99. So if yet to see a playoff driver head out quite yet, obviously with a lot of the playoff drivers finishing well last week, or in the cars that either didn't partake or obviously other situations. So as qualifying is reversed based off order of last week. So we'll see what Gibney can do here now. And this is where it gets interesting as well. As the run goes on, the track will get maybe better or worse, as obviously we're in a steady session here. So there's some benefit sometimes to be the car that goes out a little bit later. Sometimes it may be a little bit unbeneficial to go out later. So we'll have to see where that sweet spot is. And if the drivers that finished well last week, like Lilac Zier, for instance, Dustin Hall and the likes, can make a run to put it up to the top of the board on the ever-changing track conditions. Gibney just finished his lap. It will be P4 for the number 1 machine. Put himself in the 2nd row. Now Elias Flores up next, coming out of 3 and 4 right now. The number 99 machine for Ascent Racing. A lot of Ascent cars in the field. Great to have teammates and friends you can rely on, especially with these plate races. Across the line, only going to be good enough for P8, the slowest of all the cars to put down a run. It looks up next. It is going to be, we'll wait to see who exactly it is coming out of the pit lane. But I think it's going to be Josh Gaiman and Jeremy Braille, the next 2 to hit the track.
That's what it's looking like here. The 33 in new paint there for Jeremy Braille. Looks like actually no, it'll be Caleb Carter, the 55. That'll be the first one to go out. This next group, we saw him roll out. Josh Gaiman will then be the 2nd to roll out. And then Jeremy Braille will be the next batch of cars on pit lane. So Caleb Carter begins his run in the 55, another one of the uncharted cars for Stepping Stone Motorsports this time. An uncharted car, top of the board with Callie Height. Alongside Gary Donaldson, currently the front row at the moment. So far, it's been the best times up early here in Atlanta, under the sunshine, that we will not see tonight. Once we get into race time, Carter's first lap begins now. Remember, they only get the 1 flying lap. 1 shot qualifying For the 31 cars on the grid, we've got 8 that have set lap times, make that 32. Richard Odie's joined in late as well. So more people joining in later in the qualifying session. These are drivers that will also qualify later on as well. Richard Odie had a pretty decent performance at Darlington a week ago. Caleb Carter's first lap time across the board, it's 171.46, not great. Currently last of the runners at the moment. We'll look and see what Josh Gaiman could do in a number 33 car. He's across the finish line, and he goes top of chart. Teammates front row for Lady Liberty Motorsports. 172.35 miles an hour for Josh Gaiman. And now it's a two-time Daytona 500 winner on the ARC side of the competition. Jeremy Braille, as a team owner, 3 drivers' championships in ARCs in the A-Square Cup Series. One for himself. His teammates have gotten the other 2. Two-time ARCs Daytona 500 winner. One of those successful drivers at ARCs, making that jump over into HTL competition, racing the Toyota for Arrowhead Racing. Across the line he goes to start his qualifying run in the 44. And he is in make or break situation for this race. So what can he do on his favorite type of racetrack? We're going to find out. Down the back straightaway, keeps it nice and loose. Down the back straightaway. Not hugging it too tight to the white line, letting it ride up a little bit, not fighting the race car importantly. But the lap times fall as they may. Remember, you cannot go below the white line at all at any point or your lap is invalidated. You'll start at the back of the field. He'll start currently in 7th with a lot of cars left to go. We've at least seen 11 qualify so far, make that 12 because there's Shad Slotsworth across the line now. 172.1 put him P4. So he's got something to say here in qualifying in the 18 Toyota. Arrowhead Racing teammates qualifying pretty well. But now work begins again for the next set of drivers that have work to do. Eli Sasek, one of those rolling out on racetrack now, the number 9. One of a couple drivers to point their way in on the regular season. Lilac Zier, the other, who got a win last week. Eli Sasek still looking for his first ever win in the HTL Cup Series to try to find some real estate at the top of the board. Sasek hugs the white line, needs to be careful not to go over it and have that time disallowed. So hard to judge from inside the cockpit of those cars. Down the back straightaway, hugs it a little bit tighter at 2. Rolls to the corner at 3.
And this is where you got to be careful here as well. Like you said, you do not want to validate, and especially for Sasek, who has a hole, have to dig himself out of in the playoffs. You want to put yourself in a good spot to get stage points in both stages. Sasek will finish his run. It will be P6 for the number 9 machine, and then it will be Joshua Sosi, the defending champion, with a good cushion coming tonight, but still would like to get back on the winning ways. Across the line, he will put his Hello Kitty machine. It's going to be good enough for P3, so it looks like Lady Liberty and even Valkyrie, the sister team, both showing their muscle here early on and definitely flexing it and showing that they could be the team to beat and watch out for at these plate races. The last couple times it's been Arrowhead. Seems like now Lady Liberty has really found that next gear. Next 2 cars up is going to be the 25 of Blake Henderson. He'll be one of 2 hitting the track. I believe he is Georgia born, so this is a home track for him. And the other one will be his teammate and partner in crime of Zachary Apperson, who's looking to get that for some good owners points to try to qualify for the owners championship, or at least get himself in the round of 8 for the owners championship. So we'll have to keep an eye on both cars here as they make their runs. Obviously, Henderson retiring the Dale Jr. inspired Henderson Freights car, as it seemed to be a little bit of bad luck. Gonna rock a different paint scheme today, the black and red Henderson graphics machine, to hope it brings a little bit more success. Coming down the front stretch right now, looking okay, trending in the right direction. Not at the moment looking like it will be a pole run for the number 25. Times look a little bit down to Sosi's, but we'll see what he can do in the second sector here. Going to find maybe an extra 10th. Going to get as close as he dares to the dog leg. Cross the line. Could be good enough for P4. So 4 seems to be very lucky for a lot of these drivers as they keep bumping their way into 4th position. Speaking of the 4, Zachary Apperson looking to try to get that 4 maybe a bit higher than 4. Coming across the line. It's going to be good enough for P4 as well. So Zachary Apperson will match his number's sake and get the number 4. So 4 has been very lucky for these drivers, but unlucky for Aaron Rodgers, who has had some bad shenanigans with the number 4 in the past couple years. We'll see who up next. It's going to be Richard Odie in the 78 and DeMonte Donson in the 31. They'll be the next 2 cars to hit the track. Obviously, Odie, a privateer right now. Obviously, coming in, doing a good season right now. Obviously, maybe not the best season to his liking, but he's been learning the car, getting good grips with the machinery, and not causing any fusses or anger or anything else. So overall, having a good season at the very least. Would love to shape that up with a victory here. Could definitely feel like a smile moment if he could find his way to victory late in that number 78 machine. So as Odie cuts to the dog leg right now, he will start his flying lap. We'll see if he's got anything to try to break up the domination of Valkyrie in the first 3 slots. Right now, pinching that low line, but leaving a little bit of space. We'll have to see if he can keep that run going down the back stretch here.
On the back straightaway, it's Richard Odie and DeMonte Donson, who just started his qualifying run. Donson, part of the Lady Liberty and Valfreya Motorsports connection that we've seen at the front of the field so far. Odie trying to defy that in his Toyota. Can the privateer move forward 171.53 miles an hour? He cannot. 16th fastest for Richard Odie. He'll start near the back of the field. Times have been in the indication. DeMonte Donson, no. Can the 31 join his teammates at the front? 171.99. 171.90, the official lap time, puts him 11th place, so not quite as good as Gaiman, Height, and Susie at the front of the field, but gave it a genuine effort there as we just sort of browse and peruse through the field. Bailey Thompson, 27 car, another Valfreya car up next on the board. So Thompson's got a lap to run, so does another Valfreya car, Alfred Denny, the 29. The Armada now in full force here, and again, this is reversed based off of the results from Darlington. So not great that a lot of these drivers had to set laps early in the qualifying session. It means that it got something to do later on in this race. Bailey Thompson currently best of the rest outside the playoffs. 17th in points right now entering. Trying to continue that momentum throughout the playoffs here from the outside looking in. Again, Alfred Denny, one of the last cars in the playoffs at the moment, 15th in points. Needs to do some work. He's got teammates in high places to try to make that happen. Thompson, round turn 4. On what could be a fantastic qualifying lap, really touchy. In the D-shaped oval, in that dog leg, 172.4, but they're going to review that. Did Thompson go too far under the white line? And is that going to be an end-of-line start for Bailey Thompson? Alfred Denny on a lap now.
Keep an eye on control here. We'll keep an eye if anything gets down the pipeline right now, but nothing has been officially said. Obviously, right now, the driver and the race control that are lining drivers out have not said anything. So we'll keep an eye on it and keep the viewers posted. But right now, Alfred Denny, as we see on screen right now, as he's coming to warm up here to start a run here. See what he can do in this number 29 machine. Starts his flying lap now. He'll be flanked by Dean Clavitt, a playoff driver as well, the Canadian, who obviously looking to try to do the double here, win the Cup Championship and the Truck Championship, which not a lot of drivers can say they have done, as no one has actually done in the short life of the Truck Series. but looking to make himself in a special company. So as Denny comes through 3 and 4, pinching that line, as we've seen a lot of drivers use the first warm lap to get up to the wall to try to get that little extra speed. We'll see if that pays dividends across the line. He will put it, and it'll be good enough for P11. So Alfred Denny will come across the line in 11th. Next up will be the number 90, Dean Clavitt. He's coming down through 3 and 4 right now with a short run to the line.
He's looking good.
He'll come across the line right now. Does it good enough for pole?
No.
It is not. It's only going to be good enough for P8. And I do wonder, I'm keeping an eye on the track temperature from my own perspective here, and it is falling about 2 to 3 degrees. So this temperature, obviously, if it's too hot, it can make times not the greatest. But as we see an overcast cloud coming in, it's getting a little bit darker than it was at the start of the session. It does make me at least wonder if maybe these times aren't as poppy as they were, as we're now losing that optimal track temperature.
Luke Frazier up next, 57 for Stepping Stone Motorsports. Did not have the greatest of times at Darlington. Up until stage 3, 57 gets kind of mired in traffic. Strategy helped that 57 get up near the front of the field and closer to the top 10. Now this is a track that Frazier's been feast or famine at over the past couple races we've seen here in Atlanta, both in the Hammer Down Truck Series and in the Cup Series here back in spring. Potent plate racing team Stepping Stone Motorsports is, so Frazier's in the right place to be successful. Coming around to finish a lap time here. It looked decent, but it wasn't. 21st fastest. So you might be onto something with the lap times falling away here. David Smoot Jr. will see what he can do. He is part of the Vol Freya and Lady Liberty Motorsports group. That conglomeration, that was a good lap time, 172.21, enough for 7th place. He jumps ahead of Blake Henderson.
Yeah, good run by the number 8 machine. Obviously, almost matching his car number, one better, as he will now be P7. I think a time that will be hard to beat here. Next up will be Josh Arnold, currently the last driver in on the playoffs right now in a dead heat with Zachary Meredith, who we'll see in about another lap here, as Wygent will be the other car to flank on. So it'll be both Arnold and Wygent, the next two. And this is where it gets interesting, because we talk about this is kind of the ultimate wild card race. This is the only plate super speedway race, however you want to call it, in the playoffs here. Yeah. After this, the next, obviously, the round ends with Kentucky, and then after that, it's going to be Watkins Glen, Chicagoland, Bristol, which is a road course, a 1.5 mile, and a short track. So this is really the last kind of wild card round. And with it being the most drivers that get eliminated in this round, it can also be the great equalizer. For some drivers like we saw with Braille, Sasic, this could get him back in the running. For a driver like Arnold, who's currently in a dead heat, one bad run, and he finishes, let's say, last, going into the next round, he could have to make up 20 points at Kentucky, where it's very hard to make big swings unless you truly have speed. So as Arnold comes across the line right now, where can he slot his machine? Well, that's a good run at the very least. P3 for the number 2 machine, one off, matching his car number. Now Pacey Wygent coming through 3 and 4. Seems like the track is finding its groove again. We'll see what he can do here, getting close to dogleg. Not really an optimal line coming across the line. It's going to be good enough for pole, so what am I talking about? Pole for Pacey Wygent will bump Bailey Thompson off provisional pole. They will have to slot into second, and it will be Gaiman Arnold another row. So it looks like this track has now found its optimal line. Maybe these cars really trying to find their little extra groove to put down the times. Next up will be Meredith, the Season 2 champion, and will be flighted by last year's regular season champion, Caitlin Height.
Yeah, we're reaching the tippy top of the board here. Only a few drivers left to set qualifying lap times. Drivers left to make lap times here as we watch Meredith run around. We got Lilac Zier, Dustin Hall, Lily Pelletier Sharp. We got Hunter Peach, Bobby Blowers also in this group as well. Very talented group. Trying to do battle here to go for pole position. We just saw from Pacey Wygent, there's still grip in the racetrack, so Meredith hoping that the same follows for him as it did for his teammates Arnold and Wygent, who both got into the top 5 provisionally so far, but this is where the best come out. Rounding 3 and 4 on the bottom of the racetrack. Really tight lap time. Is it fast? Does he have that benefit with the wind and the grip? 172.31 miles an hour. 5th place, right behind his teammates. Now can Caitlin Height bring pole position back to Lady Liberty? 172.36 goes P3. It's a very tight margin. 31.620 is the lap to beat by Wygent. Caitlin Height 6th. 31.666. So about 400 shy on that, with work to do. Up next now, Dustin Hall set to get ready to go behind Lily Pelletier Sharp and the 20 of Hunter Peach.
Well, actually, Bobby Blowers is already on the track, so it'll be Blowers and Sharp in this little duo right now. Then it will be 3rd and 2nd place last week in both Peach and Hall. And then Lilacs here will be the last car to go, having the privilege of winning last week. That's the winner's benefit to make a run. Blowers just crossed the line to start his flying lap. Now Sharp, obviously coming through 3 and 4. We'll stick with the playoff driver here, as there's a bit more implications. Lily Pelletier Sharp's an interesting case. Obviously, when we looked at the power ranking, she's one of those drivers you had maybe a little bit lower in the power ranking board. Whoever wrote it had a little bit lower in the power ranking board. But she's someone that, as personally has watched throughout a bunch of series, is she finds a way to get that last second run, that Hail Mary pass to connect. It's got a bit of a clutch gene in that number 71 machine, so have to keep an eye on what she does here tonight if she can keep this form of run going. Blowers just went provisional pole, blistering lap of 31.61. That's going to be the time that Pelletier Sharp will have to beat here if she wants to come across the board, down across the line. Can she beat it? She cannot. It's going to be P3 for the 71 machine. And now that sets the tone for last time out race winner at Atlanta, I should say, in Hunter Peach, flanked by Dustin Hall, who is still shockingly looking for his first win on the year.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that that's sort of where we're at right now, where Dustin Hall has not won a race yet this season, and right now, obviously did well at Darlington last week, but has to sort of rely on not having issues pop up here tonight. It's really a dichotomy of two people's seasons so far. Hunter Peach won here at Atlanta. Dustin Hall's not really finished a race here at Atlanta. And they're both going to come to a head and qualify together here. Hunter Peach on his qualifying lap. At the moment, out of turn 2, looking pretty good. 172, 173 miles an hour pretty easily. Got to 175 into turn 3. It's all about minimizing that drop in speed down to 172, but held it pretty well. He's looking really good this time. Across the line, 172.33, not a pole time, but good enough right now for the top 10. It's very close at the top. Dustin Hall did not have a great opening part of this lap. Can he secure it with a great end of the lap? Did not drop below 173. He's got a chance. 172.82, top of the board, Dustin Hall.
Blistering. That is the lap you want to see if you want to make a run for this championship. Great lap by Dustin Hall, and he'll be on the front row. The question is, will it be the inside line or the outside line? One driver left to go, and it's last week's race winner that is looking to try to best that number 12 again in Lilacs here for Stepping Stone Motorsports. Now, obviously, Lilacs here already has her victory from Darlington. As long as she makes next week's race, that win will officially count. So she just has to make sure she attends next week's race, and she will be on to
slow lap.
Yes, it is.
I think Zier is starting in the back of the field here.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Because she's coming around now. Yeah, she's not even up to speed. This is a sandbag lap. She'll start 33rd.
It's an odd call here.
I like it. You're already in. There's no point to stress about it. You're not looking for stage points. You're looking to just get through stage 1 and 2. You're either in front of all the madness, or you're at the very back, and you get to react and try to ensure that your car gets to safety. True. I don't dislike the strategy. She's already in.
Yeah, she also just hit the wall to 1 and 2, so this lap will not count regardless. So who's coming out 3 and 4?
There was no doubt that wasn't intentional, but this is definitely just Zier, just ensuring that she did set a lap time. But so it will be Dustin Hall and Bobby Blowers at the front of the field for this race. Lilac Zier, last week's winner, deciding to deliberately set a lap time that does count, 41.6.
10 seconds slower than first pole position's lap. So that you don't see often on a super speedway track. A lap 10 seconds slower.
Almost exact, yeah.
Yeah, she'll get it up to speed now to show she's obviously something's not wrong with the engine. I think obviously she was just sandbagging there. But overall, though, Dustin Hall will be our pole sitter, and it will be him leading the field with Lilac Zier being the last car on the grid. Now, we'll head on to warm-up here. These drivers have 5 minutes to make any last-second little practices or use the bathrooms or take a drink, whatever they so choose to do in this 5 minutes before we get to 162 laps around Atlanta.
And again, we'll kind of walk through where we're at in the point standings after 17 races. It should be saying after 17 races, because Darlington is 17. This is 18 that we're on tonight. So see if we can get that updated here. Maybe. But after Darlington, there we go. Josh Susie, top of the board, 3,060 points. Is a 2-point difference between Susie and Hunter Peach. Dustin Hall, Pacey Wygant, they're top 4 at the moment. Caitlin Height 5th, Lilac Zier in yellow right now, highlighted in yellow with that race win, but not locked in. Also has to take part and start the race next week at Kentucky Speedway. Lily Pautier Sharp 7th, Josh Arnold and Zach Meredith. Right now they are tied based off of best finish so far this season. Josh Arnold has the tiebreaker, but obviously that's going to change a lot here across 162 laps and 3 stages in Atlanta tonight. Zach Meredith on the wrong side of that, looking in, trying to get into the top 8. That's the threshold. You need to go from being in the top 16 to being in the top 8 a lot harder than it looks. Meredith's on the 9th position. Dean Clavitt in 10th at a track that he is renowned at. These plate tracks, Dean Clavitt, right up his alley. But he's 10th place in points. He needs to have a good night, start to finish, and that includes in the stages if he wants to try to rally in and try to take it to the group in the top 10, in the top 8 there with Caitlin Height, Lilac Zier, and then the giant rift between 6th and 7th there in the point standings. Eli Sasek in 11th. This is not a track that suits him in the slightest at all. There's no sugarcoating it. Sasek did not want to have to rely on this racetrack, but unfortunately right now he needs to at least bring something home before heading to Kentucky next week. Blake Henderson, home track, has not had a lot of great results here in Atlanta. This is not like his Daytona and Talladega stats where he's traditionally in the top 5, mixing it up for the race win. Typically, it's on a flatbed on its way to a junkyard for Blake Henderson. He needs to turn that around here under the lights for the first time. He's excited. He's pumped up. Can that get him from 12th in the points? We're going to find out here. And then the other drivers that really need to make magic happen here. Shad Swatsworth, Josh Gaiman, Alfred Denny, Jeremy Braille. All 4 of these drivers typically have been feast or famine, more on the famine side here on the plate track. Shad Swatsworth, not a great time on the plate tracks this season. Josh Gaiman, outside of, I think, one of the Daytona races, I don't think has really finished a plate race this season. Alfred Denny, who is typically really good at the plate races, he's not had a great run of form so far this season. Jeremy Braille, we know his success. We talked about it in qualifying. He needs that in spades. He needs that hands down tonight. Is he going to get it, though? That's the big question over these 162 laps. Obviously, we talked about the drivers on the outside of the playoffs just trying to be best of the rest. Bailey Thompson currently the best of that. Martin Roberg, who did not start at Darlington last week, is present tonight here for Ascent in that 97 car. Bobby Blowers in the 94 also in the running as well. Austin Mongold skipped out on Darlington, is also present here tonight. Tommy Reynolds also not present. Neither Lily Frazier, who's now in the 57 car, sits now in the 22nd spot. DeMonte Dotson also looking to make some inroads. Had an okay qualifying run, but needs to do better. Still with teammates from a starting position. He's 23rd in points. DJ Trout, once again, not present in the 93 car here this evening. But still a lot to fight for throughout the season with 6 races to go, including tonight. And warm-up is not far away from being completed. Time ticking down, 41 seconds to go and counting here in Atlanta. Again, for everyone just now tuning in, we welcome you to AVN Esports 1 and our coverage of the HTL Cup Series from Daytona to Fontana all season long here on AVN. I'm Carmen, Sienna, alongside me as always Kevin Young, to bring you action here on Monday nights. Tomorrow night, the HTL Hammered Out Truck Series from Kentucky Speedway. Gonna have some fun in the trucks in the Bluegrass State, as racing once again in full swing. We love it here on AVN. For the first time in a while, we don't have any AVN Champ Car action on Wednesday. Off week this week. We'll see everyone again next Wednesday, the 18th, in Motegi. But that's going to end the warm-up session here in Atlanta. We'll watch the transition from day to sunset here tonight. And we'll see the transition from sunset to night begin in earnest here at Atlanta. Starting grid, bottom of your screen now. It's going to be Dustin Hall and Bobby Blowers, front of the field. Team Conti sponsor number 12 machine sitting on pole position alongside Bobby Blowers. Let's see what they can do at the front of the field. Bobby Blowers, a race winner here in Atlanta as well. Do not overlook that 94 car here in Hampton, Georgia. Further throughout the field here, you've got Pacey Wygen and Lily Peltier Sharp in row number 2. Row 3 is where you'll find Bailey Thompson and Caitlin Height. Row 4, some more of those Lady Liberty and Valfreya cars. Josh Gaiman in the inside of row 4 in 7th. Josh Arnold, one of the coast-to-coast racing cars, in 8th place. His teammate Wygen in 3rd. His teammate Zachary Meredith outside row 5, just behind him there in 10th. To his inside, Hunter Peach, who has also been successful, won the spring race here in Atlanta. As the cars begin to roll off pit lane here, row number 6, as the field gets ready to go here. Callie Height, great qualifying run, first time in 3 months she's been on the racetrack. She'll be starting in 11th place alongside the defending Cup Series champion Josh Susie, who starts this race from 12th on the grid. Zach Apperson and Austin Mongold sit this race in row 7, 13th to 14th on the grid. Row 8, 15th to 16th, Davis Muir Jr. and Blake Henderson. Local driver Henderson trying to crawl from 16th on the grid. Dean Clavitt and Gary Donaldson have an even higher climb to make. Clavitt in 17th, 18th for Gary Donaldson. The top 20 is rounded out by Chad Swatsworth in the 18 and Byron Jones in the 19. Jones starts 20th. Alfred Denny in that 29 car starts outside the top 20, 21st for him. Sasek even further down, 22nd for the Ascent Racing driver from New York. Kevin Gibney Jr. and DeMonte Dotson in row number 12. Dotson starting 24th on the grid. And as we look further throughout the field here, Mark Parkhurst, Jeremy Brayout in row number 13. Brayout has a big climb, both in the point standings and on the grid. 26th is where he starts tonight. Martin Roberg with a scheme in remembrance of the shooting that happened earlier last week. He's starting in row 14, 27th, alongside the returning DJ Anderson. Elias Flores and Lily Frazier round out the top 30 here tonight. Richard Odie and Caleb Carter, row 16, the penultimate row. Very last row shared by the one and only Lilac Zier, last week's race winner, electing to start from 33rd and last on the field. All she needs to do is start a race tonight and next week in Kentucky, and she's locked into the round of 8, where the competition gets even tighter. But that is the 33 cars tonight. Kevin, it's been a lot of fun so far. We're moments away. What you got?
Well, I was going to say 2 things. One, Zier's got to be careful here as well. He's got a lot of enemies those last couple of weeks. You'll have to be careful, try to smooth some fences. But if I had to throw a prediction out who I think is going to find victory here, honestly, I'm going to go with the wild card choice. I think it's going to be Peltier Sharp. I think pressure's going to spread pressure. I think she'll find victory lane. If I had to throw out 2 more names in my mind, I think Josh Gaiman will see the Jekyll here, the Hyde, not the Jekyll. And lastly, I think we'll go with a curveball. Let's go Blake Henderson. I think he'll shock the world here. He feels like someone that's ready to shock the world.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Here we go. Showtime. For the first time, Henderson's a good choice. I'm going to go with Dustin Hall. He needs a race win. We'll see how it goes across the line here. Pace car in, green flag out. It's time to go. Racing in Georgia and racing to the lights.
And lap 1 officially done. It is going to be Pacey Wygant that will lead that lap just by a fingernail over Dustin Hall. But right now, you see it's 2 wide by 2 wide by 2 wide. That is not indicative of the hold, as we'll see a few drivers pull out of line there in that shot as we ride on board with Pelletier Sharp on the high groove. So we'll see, again, some drivers will elect to maybe jump below high side here, try to get out of this low line here, as that high line is where you want to be for the most part, but some cars will like to kind of stay there, as you can see right now on the shot behind. She's got a big gust of field behind her, all trying to make runs and make moves happen. On the low side, you can see that low line beginning to charge forward. Dustin Hall now answering back on the low line with Gaiman in tow, and they'll be side by side heading into 3.
Yeah, right now, still side by side. Dustin Hall fighting back on that inside lane. He's got Josh Gaiman behind him, but the outside lane's so strong on the exit of 4, approach the start-finish line. Wygant leads that lap, but again, Dustin Hall crawls it all right back together here through 1 and 2. Everyone's going to have to manage to make things happen here tonight. Drivers have already dropped sort of a little bit off the run here. Dotson and company a little bit further back, about. You see that line of cars several seconds back, 4 seconds back now, led by Clavitt and Bailey Thompson, just sort of sitting back and riding at the moment. Wygant continues to lead.
Yeah, obviously Clavitt's in a spot where he, obviously, there is a risk where you can bleed points, make moves. He's obviously maybe taking a strategy where it's better to keep the car clean than rather than get stage points here and fight for the win. Obviously, the end on that strategy, though, is if a lot of drivers end up getting stage points in the playoffs, you could be ending up reaping a problem going off into Kentucky next week. But obviously, a clean car is something you definitely do not want to lose. Lap 6 now, lap 5 in the books, lap 6, it's still Hall and Wygant, but Hall with a good shot here. Question is, will he elect to jump up here? As you can see, a little bit of spacing there. Blowers jumps out, and you can see maybe a third line kind of forming there for a second. Height gonna go low, ditch the high line, and that may be the nail in the coffin for that high line, as there was just a little bit of a kind of check up there. Cars started to think of what was best for them. You can see right there, it led to mutiny, and now they're still trying to work this out, but this is lap 5, maybe 6 cars on that low groove up to Apperson the Hall to have the run to kind of now choose what they want to do. As we'll see now, Mongold a little bit further back, working in tow to try to get that high groove back together, try to catch up to those 5-6 cars on that high line.
Obviously not very easy there trying to make that magic happen. It was way too early to try to make that work. Here tonight, we're right now looking at the 8 of David Smeal. Smeal right now sitting top 7. Henderson's made his way into the top 8 here. He's gotten around the 00 Pacey Wygant. Right now, people kind of concerned with the 15 of Callie Hyde, a little bit of latency for the 15 car. Right now up in the 4th position behind Hunter Peach and ahead of Zach Apperson. But things settling down at the front of the field. Stages will be coming pretty quickly here tonight, though, at least in the early going of this race. Stage 1, it ends on lap 30. Stage 2 on lap 90. So first stage should go without a pit stop here tonight. However, you cannot say the same about stage 2 or stage 3. as the outside lane forms up once again, and it's forming behind the spring race winner, Hunter Peach. On the outside lane, trying to find his way back to the front of the field. He's got help. And in front of the field goes Dustin Hall, who blocks Peach into the wall, 3 wide. Peach outside and abandoned.
Oh, that's not going to make any friends here early on. Peach, again, drivers have short-term memories and long-term memories. They will make sure to make note of that. So you know Peach, if that situation comes out, will be ready to make call. And you can see up front, you can see right there, Wygen going to split the difference, going to snake it around Hall, and he's going to successfully do it. So put Wygen now up to the lead. Hall, after throwing a block, was on top of the world, is now going to have to settle for second, as Wygen will be the Pied Piper of the high line. At least the low line looks a lot more organized, as it's pretty much just no real mutinies there. That high line, you make one mistake, you may end up getting shuffled out, so you got to be careful not to really upset the disciples up behind you as the run continues on, as that low line is now losing more charge as the high groove is making its moves here.
Yeah, High Groove obviously very much in control of the race right now. Pacey Wygen got ahead of Dustin Hall there, did what Hunter Peach tried to do and failed. Peltier Sharp up to third. Third for the Finchborn driver, Josh Arnold fourth, and Zach Meredith fifth. Now this is where it gets dangerous, because you have all three coast-to-coast racing drivers right now sitting top 5. Coast-to-coast trouble, Callie Height.
Oh, you are right. She's got some trouble here, but she's got it pointed in the right direction, so
that
no caution will be called.
Oh, trouble. There is trouble there, and there is going to be a yellow for it.
Nope, still green.
Ooh, that is very unfortunate there. Caleb Carter in trouble. There probably should be a yellow for that. I think with Callie Scar probably having a little bit of latency at the best possible time, it probably saved the caution coming out there. There's going to be a lot of arguments that there should have been with cars on the racetrack. We will stay green, though, for the time being. Caleb Carter still on the racing surface there on the apron after pit entry.
Well, now we have a caution, and it's going to be, Carter stopping on the tri-oval here, and that will be the caution here. So 55 stopped. That, and now will tow, so that is now officially the caution here. So one caution will be officially called here. Maybe a bit of a bail up for some of the cars. They got stacked up. Now actually the 55 will go, so didn't even tow. This is a very weird situation. Carter saying having some latent issues and also complaining about the pedals, so this is weird. That's all I'm going to say on this point right now. Not 100%, but that will be the first caution regardless, and we'll cut this first stage in half. As we'll get going, it'll be about 15, 14 laps to go.
Now, I'm just going to throw this out here. There are very strict penalties for race manipulation. Things like sitting stationary to draw a caution fall into that category. So that's going to be heavily reviewed.
Yeah.
Because Carter was just flying through qualifying in the start of this race. It wasn't until that incident. They're going to definitely take a look at that.
Yeah, it's weird because going back, look at the perspective here. Sorry to cut you off. Just want to say, Kits misses the pit lane, stays green, locks up the tires trying to stop it. Then it stops. Then the latency issue. Then it goes. Then it stops. And it goes over like 20 feet, and then stops. Then goes, and then stops a third time. So this is weird. But why stop 3 times is interesting if he's having some connectivity issues. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, is it's odd, but still weird that the pedals would concede at that spot. But overall, odd situation. Regardless, caution is now officially out, and with no pit stops elected to happen this stage, you may see a handful of drivers come down like Clavitt, Frazier, and Height, obviously Height with some damage, electing to come in the back here to kind of fix up the car. But this is maybe an alt strategy choice from these drivers to maybe use those fresh tires to try to carve through the field here.
I don't think tires mean that much in this short of a stage. Maybe in stage 2 they mean a decent amount. But I don't see them meaning a whole lot right now. I don't see one conceding track position when you kind of are figuring out what you're trying to do right now. So Carter, first car, only car a lap down at the moment.
I will say most of the cars that did pit were also in the back, so no harm, no foul, just even top off on fuel. Not obviously the main cars up front elected to pit here, is like you were saying, tires not important in this short of a run, but for some of the lower cars, even at most, they only took fuel only, so just really an off sequence, get to the back kind of strategy. As you see the 15 coming out of pit lane here, nice and repaired, looking clean as ever. These drivers do get one fast repair. They can use that as their digression if they so choose and when they so choose to use it. Obviously, Height did not use hers as she had over a minute worth of repair damage. So she will continue on with the car she was given at the start of this race. But if, again, a major accident occurs, they can use the fast repair and still be in contention to win this thing.
Yeah, that's the big thing right now for Callie Height. Just trying to get to the end of stage 1. It gives you an extra chance to try to make something happen. She's now at the back of the field, so there's going to be a little bit less stress to make things happen here. So she'll sit at the back of the field and be 32nd on the grid. Meanwhile, front of the field, it's Dustin Hall, Pacey Wygant. That'll lead this field to green under the first restart of the night. Josh Arnold, Lee Pelletier Sharp, they sit in row 2. Byron Jones, Zach Meredith, they sit in row 3. Josh Gaiman, Josh Susi. It's the Josh and Josh show, row 4. It's Zach Everson, Bobby Flowers, row 5. Your top 10 there. For those following the local driver, the home hero, Blake Henderson, he's in row 6 inside in 11th place to get things started here on this restart. Coming to 13 laps to go in stage 1. Question is, do we get there under green? We're going to find out. Green flag back in the air and away we go for the Henderson Graphics 400. Lap 18 underway. Really easy restart by Wygant. Hall slotted in right in front of Josh Arnold. And right on cue there, left Pelletier Sharp out the dry. Outside lane just looks so much stronger right now.
That's what I was talking about in the pre-race. Highline is going to be the lane that you want to be in. Obviously, late in a run, early in the stage, we'll see 2x2. That low line dispenses quite quickly. And you'll see drivers abandon ship or try to make moves quickly. So overall, the low line starting to charge back a little bit here with Sharp at the helm of the line here. In tow was Melt from Sosi and Blowers in tow as they will charge on the low side. But Wygant still charging on the high groove here. It will now be side by side. Gotta be a little careful. You see some aggressive side drafting by Sosi, but Wygant will lead that lap as well. But that low line not gonna roll over and die here. They're gonna try to charge forward.
Yeah, unfortunately for Susi, being on the inside trying to side draft is not nearly as effective as it is being on the outside side drafting, because the right side of the car is the most sensitive part. Kristina Ryan, if she was in the booth, would have a field day explaining the dynamics of side drafting and just how the air works on these 7th gen stock cars. But what you're seeing now, you're seeing the outside lane be so effective because all they have to do is drift down in the middle lane and side drift up that bottom lane, and it creates a parachute on that inside lane and just holds them back. And you're seeing that in full effect right now. Now that the inside lane is down by 4 or 5 cars, outside lane just has to pick and roll out of the corners when they side draft. And you're seeing that a little further back there. I think that's 33 game, and they did a little bit of side drafting to pull the inside lane just a little bit further back still. Byron Jones trying to sit in the middle, dangerous spot to be in case you do get put in no man's land. 3 wide further back in the running order. I believe that was David Smeal, middle 3 wide. It was that Duncan number 8 making the advantage work out just a little bit there. Got ahead of Hunter Peach and ahead of the 93, I believe. Yeah, it is 93 Parkhurst.
Yes, it is. And that's where it gets interesting there, is obviously you're bringing up the technical situations, and obviously this is what kind of speculates the drivers that are maybe just good just driving at play tracks from the elite there. Obviously Joe would kind of disagree with that thought line. There's not much of a difference, but it does take some element of skill and understanding to really work the lines and really get pulled forward. Obviously everyone you can say is competitive at a plate track or a super speedway track, but it takes those expertise, knowledge of some of these drivers to really separate from the rest, to know when to go and know when the holds in those regards. But right now, Wygant still leading the way with Hall, Arnold, Sharp, Meredith, your top 5. Low line charging back again here, but you can see, like you were talking about, with Meredith kind of side directing a little bit through the corner there. You can see Gaiman still doing it as well. And that is trying to pull that inside line back here to give that high line momentum to make it a race between themselves here. But right now, it is still the Wygant show, and tempers are beginning to flare. Sosi a little bit worried with that aggressive side drafting, as it could lead to a possible wreck.
It very much could, and we've seen that time and time again here, especially in the early stages of these races where a little bit of over-ambition ends up turning into an absolute disaster. We're going to see that from the front of the field. They're looking for stage wins here. Wygant, Hall, Arnold, Meredith, top 4, all playoff drivers. Sharp in the playoff driver list as well. 5th place, leading the inside lane. She's about to become a useful tool for whoever wants to win stage 1. Driver goes below the apron, I believe dropping back here. It is a drop back for one of the cars further back in the order. Just trying to survive the end of this stage. That is, I think, the key thing.
Oh, caution's out, and it's going to be Bailey Thompson in the wreck here further back. Sasek involved. Sasek complaining maybe about clearing situations here. We'll have to take a look exactly what happened, but Thompson heavily wounded here, and this will officially end the stage. So Wygant, Hall, Arnold, Meredith, Jones, Gaiman, Sharp, Henderson, Sosi, Blowers will be the top 10, but we'll take a look here and see exactly what happened. You can see 3 wide back here. Again, Sasek was complaining about something about clearing, so we'll have to see if anyone maybe tries to clear. There you talk about the car, you were talking about jumping out of line here, and not a moment too soon. As you see right there, oh, 9 almost got hip checked to the 8. 8 gets down, 27, Danny involved, along with Apperson. So playoff driver out for Denny involved.
3 of the Valfreya and Lady Liberty cars involved in that. That's critical.
Yeah. Just hard racing to the end of the stage, and that's sometimes what it reaps there. There's multiple good cars giving damage. We'll take a second look at this again. We're going to keep an eye on Bailey Thompson right around Eli Sasek range here, as we'll see that number 9 Ascent race machine on that low group just behind Bobby Blowers. And it was Austin Mongol that pulled out of the way, as that will stop it and slow it down here.
And we're going to try to at least see if we can get it slowed down here. We'll see if we can go frame by frame, and obviously out of turn 1 there, just a really rough look. 3 wide. Who is that going to be there? Obviously,
Sasek, Smeal, really and Apperson. Yeah, that's
David Smeal. That's
group.
Not even clearing yourself situation. That's just Smeal just driving right down into the 9 of Sasek and then right back up into the 4 of Apperson. After the bounce back there, Apperson ends up in the wall. And teammates, 3 of the 9 for Valfrey and Lady Liberty involved in that incident. A lot of friendly fire. Again, that's off of David Smeal, bouncing off of Eli Sasek, driving into him into 1. And causing bedlam.
And this is also the dangers of riding in the back as well. Obviously, you want to ride, think it's a safe zone, but most situations, wrecks usually happen in that middle pack. Sasek was riding just outside the top 10. That was about 10 through 15 where that wreck occurred. And at that point, if you're further back, you got to hope you don't get ran over in the turn of the incident. But stage officially concluded. Every driver came down the pit lane for the most part here. There's a little bit of a difference up front. Peltier, Sharp, Sasek will be the top 2 as they both elected to go 2 tires on their stop, while Wygant, Hall, Meredith, Arnold, and Peach took 4. Other notables include, actually, I think it's Byron Jones. Nope, it is Hunter Peach that also took 2. Byron Jones took 4. So Peach, Sasek, and Sharp going off the grain here and trying a differing strategy to try to get some track position.
Yeah, very interesting the difference there. To see just who's prioritizing tires. Some drivers going with fuel only on these top-ups here, trying to get a little bit more longevity out of the fuel run. As they come back down pit lane, once again, Peltier, Sharp, Eli Sasek. Sasek, for being involved in that incident, obviously made out pretty well. Now in front of the field, starting front row alongside Sharp. Then it's Wygant and Hall, second row. Meredith, Arnold, Peach, Gaiman, Jones, Henderson, your top 10. Susie in 11th there. with some work to do. Caleb Carter 1 lap down in this race. Got one of those laps back. And stage 2 begins. Stage 2 goes until the end of lap 90, so they actually will go green on lap 30. So 61 laps is how it looks right now for stage number 2. Pit window between 35 to 42 laps. They're definitely going to make a pit stop here in this stage. But the green flag will fly. Here to start lap number 30, it's Pelletier, Sharp, and Sasek. Sasek does not get a good start. Pelletier, Sharp, and Dustin Hall lead the field to green. And it's a mega start for Sharp and Hall. They just need to get clear. And they do. They get clear enough. Sasek gets left away by Wygant and by Meredith. And the outside lane, once again, starts off and runs to the races to kick things off from the stage.
And you can see cars just bailing on that low line. As soon as that line didn't really get going, everyone said, all right, I'm going high. And you can see right now some of the cars look for the back will get to reap this as they'll be able to get forward. But it's going to be a loss for Sasek and Peach. They'll have to try to get the claws out here to try to get a little bit forward here. And there's also promote Wygant and Meredith in range where they kind of can also, they don't feel confident with Hall and Sharp leading the train. They can elect to jump low here and get in that train. So we'll keep an eye on if any car elects to jump out of line here. But right now, it still is Sharp, Hall, and now the low line beginning to move forward here. As Sasek, who's yet to find victory lane in the past 2 years, looking to try to finally etch his name into victories. Won in a lot of our disciplines, Hyper Formula, and other series, but looking to try to get his first HTL Cup Series win. This is charging away on that low line. He's got some good music. Look at Hall.
Wow!
Ooh,
Oh no! And there they go, down the back straightaway. Jones is involved. Pelletier, Sharp involved. Dustin Hall. And they're all stacking up on the entry to turn 3. Once again, David Smeal, Callie Height with a spin to avoid.
Kalen Height got some damage hitting DJ Anderson there.
Huge mess on the back straightaway. Dustin Halston at 3 wide of Pelletier, Sharp. Contact out of 2. And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's an odd situation overall. I have taken a look at this again. You could argue Hall was a bit aggressive, make that move. Sharp was not going to go away quietly, though, and ended up... we'll take a look here.
So this is sort of when we're just kind of rewinding it in slow motion just so we can try to see just how much we can digest here. Pelletier Sharp drifts up high anyway and kind of just leaves the door open. No contact there from Dustin Hall. That's what I was wondering if Hall shoved her high. No contact there. Pelletier Sharp just drifts high naturally. Dustin Hall sees the door open through turn 2 and just drives up into Pelletier Sharp. Pelletier Sharp gets loose as a result. Tail slaps it there. This is going to be a decent angle to see just how the spin takes place here. Hall just gets hooked up into the wall. Byron Jones gets hooked by Pacey Wygant, former teammates in the Truck Series. And you see everyone just trying to go for real estate here. Kalen Height actually gets away relatively unscathed. That's the 3 car.
Well, till the very end here, you'll see in a second that she'll get kind of...
Thompson gets a piece. Oh, yeah, Dustin Hall runs into Kalen Height.
Yeah. Still mildly unscathed. Callie goes up the road. Almost Gibney gets hit there by Sharp.
That is a wild time, to say the least.
Let's see how many people I count. Maybe 7, 8 drivers involved in that incident. Taking a look at it as well.
And again, this is the view in real time. You see Dustin Hall goes for that shot, and then Pelletier Sharp tank slaps it, and Dustin Hall does not get away scot-free there.
That's the dangers. We saw Wygant do it to Hall earlier, and it was successful, but they're just not as successful. And you got to be careful when trying to make moves. And now, A, both cars have some damage. B, there could also be a stewards investigation after this race, possibly, or at least something. That could also steal penalties, among other things. But more importantly, you do not want to burn a fast pair this early. Dustall electing not to. They'll just make it a pit lane here. Still in the lead lap, but that car is now heavily torn. Probably out of contention to get stage points, at least in this stage. Meanwhile, looking to see if anyone may have elected to take the faster pair there. For the most part, not seeing any notable sharp opposite even pit after that damage. So Paul got the worst of it. He elected to come down in that incident. Some other cars, Gibney too, and Anderson electing to not burn faster pairs as well. So at the moment, my count, no one has used a faster pair yet. Everyone's still got one, which is at least good on lap 35.
Zoomed out look through the field. Interestingly enough, Caleb Carter's still a lap down here. So that's interesting. This does give the front of the field to Eli Sasek and Jeremy Braille on this restart. So third caution of the night. We're coming to the third restart as well. Braille in the 44, where he needs to be right now, and that is front of the field, challenging for the race win. Eli Sasek likewise trying to dig himself out of an early hole from Darlington. Then it's Meredith, Sharp, Henderson, and Susie, top 6.
Just real fast before we get going, Carter did not get the way at Lucky Dog as he did get into the back of Lilac's ear during that wreck.
Completely fair there. Pace car and green flag out. Sasek up and away. Got to restart that time. But no help from the outside lane initially. Everyone hesitant to help Pelletier Sharp. And now everyone leaves Braille for dust.
I think these drivers will make note of this if we do get a late restart. Obviously, less cars will be likely to pull out a situation in those rides. But Braille, going to keep that in the back of his mind when this run goes on. But luckily, we'll have some help here from the 3 of Caitlin Height, who's coming up to give a nice little shove. But you can see still some argumental here as Wygen's trying to make a middle groove here. That doesn't work out.
3x2.
Yeah, Wygen and Arnold just snuck up there and was going to be a bit dangerous. Still in that middle groove, trying to fight to find something. There is an open hole here. I expect Wygen will probably take it, or Arnold. Neither will actually take it. They will like their odds, lead the train here. Wygen maybe going to try to come down. Still a little bit of a fight in the low line and end up working out for Wygen and Arnold.
They got to the front of the inside lane.
Yeah. And Peach got a little bit of a sucked rear end there and ended up kind of getting almost into the back of the 3. So chaos medlem in this middle groove here. Everyone got it straightened out, though. Wygen will now be the Pied Piper of the low line. Look at Caitlin Height. She'll jump low as quick as she went high. And she will now take that train. So Braille ends up going from leading the train, now down 3 cars deep as Meredith will jump in the train. He wants to lead a lap. He will lead that lap. And now the low line beginning to charge.
Well, the teammates got together. You notice that Meredith, Wygen, and Arnold, all the coast-to-coast cars got together there. Meredith got that lap led, no bonus points for leading a lap, but they all got together in very quick order, manipulated the race field in such a way that we don't see very often, especially with Wygen and Arnold having to charge to the field to make it happen. Now they lead both lines, Meredith on the outside, Wygen and Arnold on the bottom. The issue is that Meredith's now in the lane that has to rely on Eli Sasek and Lily Pelletier Sharp, 2 of the least successful plate racers at the front of the field.
And also the 2 cars that Sharp may have a little bit of damage. Both of them also took 2 tires only and fuel only on their runs. So they don't even have the grip on the tires as a lot of the cars around. So definitely not the most beneficial cars you want behind you in that situation. I think they'd rather have the 2 cars behind in Henderson and Sosi, but still, we'll see how it all works out. But right now, Braille back to leading that low line for Arrowhead, getting a good charge with Height and Thompson now on that low line. Look at Lilac's here. We said she was sandbagging qualifying, which she did, but now she's back in the top 10 here, mingling it about. Obviously got that win. No real pedaling racing up here, but she's not going to lay over here. She wants to have some fun here. She got tired of running in the back.
And Braille gets clear with Caitlin Height helping out. Braille will get a lap led out of that at the line over Wygen. Remember last Tuesday we had a photo finish, the closest finish in HTL history in the Truck Series. 5/10 thousandths of a second. We could see something similar tonight. We were close to that across the line that time by coast to coast. 3 cars controlling the outside lane. It's a homologation of cars and teams on the inside lane, just trying to make some work happen. Remember, there's a pit stop in this stage, even still, despite that caution early in the stage. Still at least one pit stop in it. Meredith trying to side draft as that 3rd car in line, trying to help the tandem in front of him.
This is where we were talking about that photo finish. Remember, if the viewers that go back can also watch the clip highlight on the Twitch channel after this race. But the 2 drivers in that photo finish was one of the drivers currently in this field, Alyssa Pelletier-Sharp. The other was one of the Overstats. I believe it was Stefan Overstat.
Stephen Overstat, yeah.
It was Overstat. Obviously, Overstat very strong in the plate tracks. At least one in the A² Cup Series, which is on Sunday nights. But Sharp obviously knows her way around the plate tracks, and maybe that in the back of her mind, knowing, hey, I won here once, I can do it twice. It worked for
Wygent and Arnold still leading the outside lane. The coast-to-coast group leading the charge right now. 1, 2, and 3. Sasek 4th in line on the outside lane, benefiting from the work of the teammates. 1, 2, and 3 right now. Outside lane is the lane with demand as the sun continues to set here in Atlanta. Inside lane charging forward once more. Seems they've really stalled out here at the moment on that inside lane. Only 3 cars together. Everyone else hanging back a little bit. Well, I like to hear the 4th car on the inside lane pretty far back. Byron Jones. 19 car sits to the inside lane now. So he's going to try to help this lane get along. Josh Susie trying to play in the middle, trying to figure out what lane he wants to be in. His teammates are mostly on the inside lane right now. He'll stay outside lane though. Big time run by the outside lane once again. But the inside lane matching. Coming up on lap traffic here. Start lap 48. Oh, this is not going to be great. Trying to put the 12, Dustin Hall, down a lap, and they do. Dustin Hall finally off the racetrack there, but scary and obviously inhibiting of the inside lane. That went from battling for 3rd to battling just to try to get back to the top 5. We'll see the ire of Braille, Thompson, and Height on display there towards Dustin Hall. Over the radios, here comes Blake Henderson down to the inside lane, trying to win a race at home. He's in the top 6, and now relying on Braille. Braille seems to be fantastic as a pusher, just needs someone in front of him. See if they can get forward. Right on the bumper of the 25. Braille rides through 1 and 2, and they immediately get right back up to the top 3, right alongside Meredith. As they sit, it's still Wygent, Arnold, Meredith top 3, but Henderson's in the top 5. Right now, so is Braille. Henderson wants a chance to lead a lap at home under the lights. Trying to work with Jeremy Brown, who was on his bumper. He saw the sun setting in the distance. Rolling through 3 and 4. Down the tri-oval here. Through the dogleg. And once again, they have stalled out here after getting right to the door of Meredith. They stall out. Whoa, Henderson gets bumped almost into the inside wall. They save it. And another roadblock for the inside lane. They've got to regain that time again. It's allowing Wygen and the Coast to Coast crew to stay at the front of the field unchallenged. Inside lane's got to get it put together here. As they roll through the corners, still trying to get back around Sasek, who's sitting in fourth. Around they go, 3 and 4. Still in lockstep here, gridlocked. Completing lap 54. Remember, Wygen and Arnold, they went fuel only. Meredith took 4, as did Henderson. Sasek took 2, so did Braille. So different tire wear on these cars as they roll through the field. How much of a factor does that play as this race goes along? You see the cars moving around quite a bit. Finishing 55. Remember, stage 2 ends on lap 90. Long way to go. A lot of work to do. Braille right back to the bumper of the 25. Just trying to make something happen on that inside lane. They've once again gotten around Sasek for a moment. They just once again stall out behind that 17 of Meredith. They fan out a little bit. And then accordion down the back straightaway. This is where the patience drains, the fatigue builds. Everyone trying to think not only about their next pit stop, but about where they want to be at the end of this stage and how they're going to get there when you're still dealing with 33 cars. Some drivers have dropped back a little bit. Frazier, Parkhurst, Anderson, Donaldson, among those that have dropped off the tail of this group. So 26 in this group. Dustin Hall 2 laps down. Caleb Carter 1 lap down. Richard Odie 31st, last car on the lead lap. 6 seconds away from Wygen. Once again, the inside lane just stalls out big time here. We'll see if we can ride on board here with Jeremy Braille and give you an idea sort of what he's seeing in this fight on the inside lane. There's Henderson in front of him, Kalen Height behind. And you'll see him tagging there in the tri-oval. Ideally, you want to give him a shove into 1. You want to try to get there and give him a shove right into turn 1. So that way you kind of just sail him into the corner a little bit more. Because that's what they're doing on the outside lane. But they can't quite match that. Braille has to peek out for some air. These engines do overheat quite easily. Braille very coherent of that situation. It's another thing the outside lane has the advantage on. They have the lion's share of the clean air if they want it. The inside lane have to hold a tighter line around this racetrack. But you see the lap time difference between Braille's fastest and his last lap. Fastest lap 185.1. For those that need it in seconds, it's 29.48. His last lap across the line that time, 180.56, almost a full second slower. Inside lane is struggling right now. I have to wonder though, with the speed difference right now of a full second, despite everyone being supposedly at full bore, you have to wonder how much fuel saving is going on. I would imagine not enough to get you to the end of the stage without a pit stop. But it seems like everyone's just kind of holding back a little bit. Bray out another lap in the 180s. It definitely seems that there might be some fuel saving elements going on here right now. If anything, just to shorten that last stop as a splash and dash. Brayout got a little bit of a shot from Caitlin Height, got a little loose out of 3 and 4. And that was sketchy. Eli Sasek goes to the bottom of the racetrack. So Sasek now leads. And here comes Susie to the bottom of the racetrack. They've got to be lining up for a pit stop here. A lot of cars now suddenly on the inside lane. Outside lane peppered throughout. Inside lane is nose to tail. Dustin Hall about to go a 3rd lap down. What was looking to be a pretty easy race to just score some results has turned into an absolute nightmare for the 12 team. The pole sitter in trouble. Down the back straightaway. Sasek getting a huge push through 3 and 4 by Henderson. And it is Hall that needs to get on the apron and out of the way. That's exactly what he does. And the field, for the most part, will clear. Outer lane beginning to fall apart. Inside lane, they've all shuffled to the inside, getting ready for pit stops. Remember, they have to pit off of turn 3. That's the big thing. They've got to pit off of turn 3, so they've got to master that to really hit this pit stop if they can. Easier said than done. No one bites that time, but it seems like everyone's getting ready for it. The idea is to try to get to at least 20 laps to go. Take about half a tank of fuel and let it sit. Go as far as possible. Most of these drivers, when they came down pit lane, under the last caution, lap 34, lap 40 for some. So drivers like Jeremy Braille, they can go a little bit longer. But you saw those that had to come down, they have to stay below the white line to make that pit stop. Pit entry, more than ever, is in the driver's hands right now. The drivers leading the field at the moment. Pit on lap, excuse me, they pit the early, they stayed up the longest. They're on 41 laps right now. I read that wrong. And here comes Braille. Couldn't keep it below the white line. Still struggling to keep it below the white line, but he gets there. I have to wonder if that is a legal pit entry. Seems like we couldn't keep it below the white line. So far, it's worked out. Henderson, Susie, front of the field right now. And they've got to come down pit lane here momentarily. Caitlin Height will blink first, and for the most part will be alone in that. A couple of drivers there, both of them part of the Lady Liberty involved Freya connection. Realized we had a technical issue there, and I believe the technical issue has been resolved, which was very interesting under pit stop cycle here. Here comes Henderson, here comes Swatsworth, and everyone in. Everyone coming in waves, trying to avoid issues there. That was Mongold that went above the white line. Don't want to get dinged too hard for that. But here comes Susie and Thompson around this time.
Well, the good news is, when listening in while we had those little technical difficulties, hearing some of the radio chat that was going through, some drivers obviously complain they can't get down in certain spots. We saw in real life in the spring Atlanta race where obviously McDowell and Byron had that miscommunication when one got hooked into the wall. So drivers have to be careful to make sure they can find a way down. And with this track being so short, as he blowers, almost runs into it, hits the inside wall, shoots out. Gonna back it up quickly so it doesn't impede Denny, Gibney, and the other car that came in. Should not get any validations for those drivers, but that could cost a little bit of time for those cars that hit the box late. Obviously, right now, lead is still Clavitt alone with the help of Carter behind. Actually, Dustin Hall by mistake. And we'll see how long Clavitt can go on his fuel tank here.
So, looks like the most of the field there was able to get to about 45 laps. They saved some fuel there. So Clavitt's on his own, so I don't think he can get quite to 45. But the objective was try to cut down the pit time as much as possible there. He's going to probably come down here in the next couple laps, get to about 15 to go.
Only other car in the same strategy is Lilac Sear, who's in the second pack group, that she'll come out around everyone that just merged out of pit lane. And she's about 6 seconds back of that, so overall, Clavitt just running around here.
She's in a way better spot, though, Zier is, being in a group, whereas Clavitt's leading a two-car train. So she's going to have a way better philosophy on this here. Just trying to save up some fuel. Clavitt staying out. This time it looks like, yep. You see everyone else a lap down. This would be a really bad time for a caution, let me tell you.
One more thing to note as well, Salt in the chat, we'll just reiterate, wondering what the colors on the scoreboard are. We didn't actually go over this. We'll say it real fast before we see the pit stops occur here. If the name is light blue, their driver's currently in the playoffs. If the driver's name is dark blue, they are not in the playoffs. So that is the distinction on the board. As I see a few drivers talking about that in the chat. But it looks like it is pit stop time for the 90 of Dean Clavitt. He will come in, surrender the lead to Lilac Sear, who you'll see on the screen in about 6 seconds here. Zooming away, you'll see her in her own little pack here. She cannot also make it as well. But trying to go that extra length here. Maybe if a caution to come out and try to pin a majority of this field one lap down. Obviously, the cars ahead of her will be all right at the moment. But right now, that one car behind Byron Jones will be the first one down. And then it's the rest of the field further back in another groove.
See Byron Jones just sort of soaring forward because everyone else in lockstep at the outside lane. But you do stall out there. Eventually, here comes Zier, who has perfected this inside lane, this turn 3 pitting technique. Perfection for the 50 of Zier. Probably easy anyway, seeing as how you're not around a bunch of cars.
Oh, interesting. She almost looks like she missed her box for a second as she had to weave it on pit lane.
I don't think she was ready to be the 33rd box.
Yeah.
Because remember, qualifying determines your pit box selection, so she had the very first box coming in.
That's what I was talking about. The dangers of sandbagging and having a poor quality is you may be further back, and that could have a risk of drivers merging and exiting and entering.
Yeah.
But luckily, overall, though, she did get in, but she will now officially lose actually won't lose a lap. She'll blend out here, but she won't get any possible stage points, and she'll probably come out to an island of her own. Lap 78 right now. Stage ends at 90. It's the Pacey Wygett show with Meredith, Arnold, Height, Henderson, your top 5. And all those drivers in pretty much that top 9, 12 cars, give or take, actually 11, I should say, are pretty content with probably just riding right now, as the second pack is about 5 and some change back. So no real reason to fight. 10 of 11 of you will get stage points, so let's fight it out when we get a little bit closer to 90.
Yeah, teammates 1, 2, 3. Caitlin Height in 4th. Blake Henderson top 5. A really good run for him so far. One that he needed, one that Swatsworth needs as well. On the outside looking in. And then Susie and Gaiman, top 10, the other playoff drivers. As Kevin mentioned, those in the cyan is the light blue there. Those are in the playoffs. Those in the regular blue, not in the playoffs. Pretty easy to tell there.
And one more thing I want to point out as well, also the drivers with Scion playoff battles like Pacey YGC along with the Fender are in the playoffs there. So you can tell also by the little front bumper you see in those top 3 cars, they all have that little extra distinction
and
as well.
And the rear wings. The spoilers are also the cyan light blue. So there's a lot of color coding in the playoff grid here. Right, see some cars go a lap down. I believe that's Clavitt that's about to go a lap down with Hall.
No, Clavitt's in 12. That's DJ Anderson with Dustin Hall. They're just up the road. Yeah, Clavitt's currently sitting in 12, so the strategy worked out going long for him. But I do want to bring up one point, as you see him right there with Alfred Denny and Kevin Gibney right there in the second train. But there's one thing I do want to point out, is this is where it gets kind of interesting, is other times we get to a play track in certain situations, more drivers are eliminated, and thus teammates may be more inclined to kind of help the driver in question. Let's look at Valkyrie, for instance. They have 3-4 of the cars between Valkyrie and Lady Liberty in the playoffs. So it's kind of an every driver for themselves mentality where you want to help. Like, Caitlin Height kind of wants to help maybe Sosi get a few extra points, or in that same regard, Meredith and Arnold. Remember, they were tied coming in tonight, even though they're teammates. So it's 1 point can make a difference. You don't want to wreck your teammate for a spot, but at the same point, with the field getting short from 16 to 8, you do not want to leave points on the table, so you want to be friendly with your teammates and help where you can, maybe even possibly push to victory, but you still need to worry about yourself when push comes to shove here. And as the stage gets closer to an end, those loyalties are going to get tested. When there's all the pride, the glory, and the money in the playoffs on the line, we'll see what truly aspires between these teammates and friends up in the front.
Yeah, right now, you're looking at the Pacey Wygent and the Coast to Coast show. Top 3 cars exactly where they're at. Looking a little bit further to the inside lane, I believe that's the 8 of David Smeal. It is the 8 of David Smeal, 8th place for car 8 at the moment. Trying to make some inroads on the inside lane that has been all but abandoned at this point. And abandoned once more. Smeal and Thompson realized that they were not making any headway, especially with teammates bookending the top 10 right now, with Height 4th, and Gaiman 7th, and Susie 10th. Best just kind of stay with the team here and ride it out at this point.
Yeah, there's no pressure behind. That second pack, consisting of 8 cars, is not making the inroads they need. They're kind of holding stable with the cars in that first group. Obviously, the first pack is a little bit more, but sometimes depth of pack doesn't matter as much as you would think, especially with next-gen machinery. As long as you kind of have about the same amount of cars, it just comes down to how you optimize your runs here. Jones lost touch with that pack. He will fall back into the second groove. But that means right now, this top 10 is pretty much all guaranteed to get stage points. The question mark is, how many points do you want to gamble to try to get more or less? Because if you're Height, are you comfortable right now getting 7 points? Or do you try to gamble to get 9? But if no one goes with you, you may end up getting 3 to 4. So you have to kind of play the risk-reward situation. And obviously for drivers like Thompson and Smeal, there's no real gambling. There's no risk. They're here just for the fun of it. So this is a big kind of how much do you want to gamble? And for Gaiman, for Henderson, who had poor rounds last week.
For Swathworth.
Yeah, for Swathworth too. Is it worth even throwing that risk?
I think we're going to see someone take a shot at it here late. I think you would have to imagine you want to kind of settle in and take a shot at it. But the outside lane so far is so dominant with these 3 coast-to-coast cars front of the field. You're really going to have to try to rip it away from them if you're going to try to, especially at the end of this race. Now you know how strong these Fords are at the front of the field. 3 to go in stage 2. And it's not easy. Not easy in the slightest. That's where we're at right now.
Oh, I think Gaiman maybe kind of telling a tail here. Saw that 33 peak. He is going.
There he is. And teammates on the inside lane. They all went together.
Gaiman, Smeal, Thompson, and Sosi all going low. Height.
Henderson wanted it, but moved too late. Moved way, way too late. Swathworth left him out to dry there. Caitlin Height staying with the group. 2 to go in the stage.
Pit lane officially closed.
Swathworth to the inside of Height. Height's lost touch with the group as well, so now the inside lane's got a chance to challenge.
I think Height probably. I think Height wanted to get on that train because that's a teammate barrage there, but just similar to Henderson, couldn't make anything occur there. They will have to kind of settle on the high line. Inside line beginning the charge here. Meredith getting a little bit antsy. Height now thinking about going low with Henderson. They have the chance to do it, and they will take it. They will go low, split the high side. So coast to coast, left alone on the high side, and they'll have to go coast to coast on the high side. But look back there. Gaiman now ditching the low line for the high line along with Smeal. Henderson going to jump up on the height. Over, under. Valkyrie now on the low side with Lady Liberty.
Everyone jumping around here, but it's coast to coast. That'll also separate to look for some extra points. Wygen wins the stage. Arnold takes...
one more lap.
Arnold keeps third.
That was the end. Yeah, that was the end. Sorry.
Yeah, Arnold keeps third on the stage break. Henderson holds on to fourth.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
they're out for Henderson now.
Their infighting cost them a chance to maybe make a run here, because you saw when the shot Gaiman jumped low, then went high to try to get back, and then went low. So you could probably argue they weren't making the roads they needed to. But at the end of the day, they had to try to do something to split coast to coast. And at the end of the day, it's a coast to coast 1-3. And one more thing I want to point out, Arnold maybe kicking himself because why he made that move? Like we're talking about in the pre-race, they are dead tied right now. Arnold and Meredith both on 30-36 coming into tonight. So that 1 point is going to at least give a slight advantage over Meredith to Arnold.
Yeah, some big differences there going in. Arnold had to give it a shot, and he knew he was relatively safe. He had third pretty well locked up when he made that move. And now they've got to try to hold on to it for real, because now it's about the race win and a chance to lock yourself into the round of 8 at the end of these 162 laps. So caution out for the 4th time tonight. And that had a little bit of everything. We had an early caution in the stage. We had green flag pit stops. And we got to the stage break cleanly. This is where it all falls apart.
Yeah, we had a few close calls, but hey, got to keep the optimism. As obviously I know my co-commentator crime Joe, and obviously back in the day when me and Carmen did Champ Car and a few others, I'm usually the optimist and my co-commentators use the pessimist, but I'm keeping the positivity here. The HTL has a track record of keeping it clean on plate races.
Well, I think the issue here, looking into this, just sort of what we've seen through the first 90 laps of this race, the outside lane is where you're going to be. Whoever is leading the outside lane, you've got a really good shot at just holding it and staying there. The issue is that we've got cautions and green flag pit stops to make where you could easily mess up and slip out of that position. If you're coast to coast, you got to hit your marks. The pressure's on you to just make sure you're perfect, because if you're not, it's going to be so difficult to make it back up under green. That's where it gets really difficult. Now, thankfully, all three of these drivers are fantastic on these plate races, so they've got the ability to work together and really stay in groove. But it's still a question of if that one stop's the last stop and it's not good enough, it really throws everything off sequence here. Wygen, Arnold, and Meredith so far, though, have been near perfect here in Atlanta. Blake Henderson had a really good run, finished 4th in stage 2, grabbed some really good stage points. He'll start 4th in stage 3. And then you have Josh Gaiman, Chad Swatsworth, Josh Susi, Bailey Thompson, Dean Clavitt now back to the top 10 as well. I remember he had a short fuel. He didn't have to stay in pit lane as long either. So he got into the top 10 there alongside with Alfred Denny. And then Jeremy Brayout 11th, Sasek, Height, Parkhurst, Flores, Apperson, Frazier, Robriggs, Sierra, and Anderson, your top 20. And I believe, let me double check here to make sure, one of the cars that we were looking at got a lap back here. I'm just trying to remember to see which one that was. I believe
Byron Jones?
It was not Jones. Jones was stuck in the middle of 11th. I believe
Dustin Hall?
Dustin Hall did get a lap back, yeah.
Okay.
Because he's now 2 laps down. Unfortunately for Hall and Carter, they need like 5 cautions at least, and we got 1 for the stage break.
Yeah. At the rate they're going, Hall, this is not going great right now, but things can always change. But I want to point one more thing. We're talking about how coast to coast want to stay loyal to the end. You want to make it a fight between coast to coast to get victory. But with all 3 drivers, again, being in the playoffs, there's incentive for all 3 to win. And with Wygen a little bit more comfortable in the playoffs, over Arnold and Meredith, you know Arnold and Meredith are not going to lie down and just take second or third if they can help it. So don't expect Coast to Coast to stay probably loyal to the end. They'll stay loyal up front. When push comes to shove, I expect a fight between all those three.
Remember, rule number 1, don't wreck your teammate. We've already seen Valfreya and Lady Liberty wreck that rule once tonight. Coast to Coast don't want to do the same. Green flag back in the air. Stage 3 begins for the Henderson Graphics 400. And you look at Josh Game in that 33 car, trying to be a one-man army. But to no avail, no one there to support him.
Yeah, Sosie's coming.
And Clavet, the 90.
Pretty much the only cars that stayed loyal on the low side, but Clavet instantly jumping high, so it's pretty much going to be those two on the low side with Callie Height coming behind. She's having a bit of still latency issues, so she'll be joined along with Parkhurst behind, so they will be the 4 cars on the low line. Right now, it is a high line sandwich with Coast to Coast and Blake Henderson, your top 4 spots, as I saw Sasek almost get into Frazier. I believe that was Sasek. It was one of the Ascent race machines and almost gave the hip check to the 57.
Yeah, that would have been Sasek, the 9 car, with a really close call.
The only downside when you see 2 cars with similar sponsorships, obviously the difference is the slight different colors and hues, but at a glance, it can throw you off if you're not careful. But you can see both cars have kept it relatively clean. And now, though, you saw Gaiman jump high along with Sosi. So low line pretty much bailed at the moment. Clavet, though, trying to be a brave pioneer here. You see on the shot, he'll go low. Bailey Thompson trying to come up and give some help to Clavet. Going to try to bring the cavalry, but Thompson going to jump in line. So Clavet, big risk. Maybe thought someone else was going to be there with him. Right at the moment, there is no one. Now he will drift outside the top 10, almost, with Alfred Denny about to catch up and try to help him out.
Outside lane, as you mentioned earlier, the dominant lane. It's where you want to be at the end of this race. Everyone jockeying for that position. Coast to Coast trying to control it because they know that if they can control the front of the field, they can control that at the front of the outside lane, they can control and put a pulse on the entire field, because then they can kind of control the inside lane. They can fade, they can block and manipulate the momentum in that inside lane. So that's what they're fighting for at the moment. Arguably, it's more tense now for that team than it has been all race, just because there isn't really a lot of time to look back at this point. Clavet charging forward, though. This is the most cohesive I've seen the inside lane look all night. And of course, it's former teammates Dean Clavet, Alfred Denny, leading the inside lane. I believe that's Mark Parkhurst as well. So yes. 3 of the old guard trying to lead the charge to the front. Really good look so far for the inside lane. Best look again tonight. But this is where they stalled out last time, right at the quarter panel, that 3rd car in line, which right now is Josh Arnold. You don't want to stall out again like what they have been. Clavet breaks through, gets door to door with Meredith, gets to the corner of Wyjet. They're charging forward. Can Clavet get to the front of the field? Answer that question. Does he lead the lap? No. But close. Close as we've seen since stage 1.
And I got to point out, Clavet came within 2 corners of winning the spring race here in Atlanta. So you know that sits on the back of his mind in these situations, and he has the pace and the speed. And winning this race obviously would be a major shakeup in the playoffs. At the very least, getting that win, as he's currently right now 9 back, that would move the line. You see DJ Anderson is going to get out of the way, not going to impede the impact here, as he will not try to impact, but to finish my point on
there.
Yeah.
A slight hiccup there for Alfred Denny for Dean Clavet. They almost really turned each other there, which would have been a disaster into turn 1. They got it recovered there, but now they got to rebuild, and this is what we had with Blake Henderson and Eli Sasek and Jeremy Braille when they were working on the inside lane at the front of the field. Just trying to keep it there. Pressure's high, and it's a lot tighter on the inside lane to try to keep that put together. Outside lane, you get to move around. It's a lot more relaxed. The unload of the car out of the corners isn't so sharp. Inside lane, it is not fun.
No, because usually and usually again in other tracks, other plate tracks, you see Daytona, Talladega, that low line is a bit more of a lane you want to be in. Here though, it is the opposite. Not the most comfort zone, where it's more about momentum and making runs. You can see Parker's again, Denny, getting a little bit kind of oozy smooshy there, and not the most in sync with their pushes, as they will begin to lose more time. And now they'll have to regroup here, as that high line is still charging and moving forward. It's the top 5 now 5 cars ahead of that inside line.
The issue is that inside lane's getting so much more impatient. You shouldn't be pushing the pusher like what Parker's is trying to do to Denny right now. You cannot be bumper to bumper that far deep. You got to sort of just trail brake if you're third car in line and make sure there's a little bit of space. Try to use the air to push the car forward. Being physical and forcing the 29 to sort of have to correct and adjust mid-corner is slowing that inside lane down. And for Mark Parkhurst, he is a veteran in this series. He should know better than to be in that situation there, but it's impatience at this point. And Elias Flores, he should know better as well. He's been caught up in a lot of these incidents because of drivers pushing the pusher, being that third, fourth car in line. Right now, that's where he's at right now, and he's doing the same thing that has taken him out of every plate race so far this season. Inside lane needs to get it together and get in shape. They got to the front of the field, they just couldn't stay there because everyone got impatient. They need to get it back together, and the group showed that they could. They just need to actually focus and concentrate on it, because you cannot get within the last 50 laps of this race and not know how to effectively bump draft on that inside lane. You have to. If you're going to be able to make positions and make stuff happen, you either have to sit back and hope luck happens for you, or you need to make things happen on the inside lane, and they know what they need to do to get to that point, and that's what they're doing right now. Meredith thought about cutting it off because Clavitt got a huge head of steam, but instead they'll stay line of stern on the outside lane, coast to coast, 1, 2, 3. Clavitt fourth on the inside as they go through 3 and 4. Trying to once again get back to the front and really pressure Pacey Wygent and company.
Yeah, I don't hate that call by Meredith per se to stay in line, because if you jump to the inside line and you stink back, that sends a message to the rest of the field that, hey, we can split you up here and make this more of a headache for coast to coast. One of the thought I did kind of ponder when we watched the inside line fall back, I was wondering if those 2 Arrowhead cars, the 18 and the 44, were maybe thinking about jump to the low line, because right now they're buried on that high side. Nowhere really to go. The low line fell to their kind of line here, so I figured maybe they would consider making a move, but right now, comfortable staying in about 8th to 10th range, because they don't want to really rock the boat. But right now, Clavitt and Denny still getting forward here, so they've refound that momentum, refound that push here. Clavitt aggressively on the 17th corner panel. Sparks in the back there. Looks like they all got it clean, though.
That was Callie Height, I believe that Sparks came from. It is Callie Height. Sparks from the 15. And that's Hunter Peach in the middle of that group right now. Very nerve-wracking further back in the field, still 3 wide. Someone's got to give out of 4. I believe it might have been Peach. No, it's not. They're still 3 wide, and it's one of the Valfrea cars, like Thompson in the inside lane. No, Martin Roberg, sorry, 97, just ahead of Thompson.
Yeah.
And there's still 3. Peach does give in that time by, so Height gets ahead on the outside lane. But Harry, couple laps there further back for about 20th place. Yeah, they're still battling for 20th too, because it's all about track position at this point. And you see the inside lane, because of what was going on back in 20th, the inside lane lost the momentum up the front, and now they got to try again.
Yep. Even Clavitt on the radio saying the same thing as well. Saying the same point, that we need to stay unified on that low side. So Clavitt kind of trying to regroup the troops, re-rally the troops here, try to get forward again. Now, again, same situation. We know as the run continues on, we've seen pit stops go about 40, 45 laps. Last pitting at 92. We're only 20 runs in, so we're about halfway through the fuel stage here for the final pit stop as the run continues on. But I do wonder, as we see Callie get a little squirrely leading up with Galen back there, But I do wonder if a car may elect to jump down here again. That low line is so kind of hit or miss here. It may not be worth the risk, but for some of these cars buried in line, it's worth trying something to try to break up coast to coast.
You see everyone abandon that inside lane. Finally, it's left just 4 cars on that inside lane to try to make something happen. Everyone bailing to the outside, which is very interesting to see how much people have just sort of given up on that inside lane. It's allowing those that were further back to move their way forward. You're looking at the Lily Frazier of the group. Lily Frazier, Caitlin Hyde, I believe, is also in that conversation as well, the 3 car further back. I believe Hunter Peach, Bailey Thompson, excuse me, Zach Apperson also in that group. So those drivers that were sitting further back outside the top 20 now, once again, up close to the front. They made some hay. And those that were at the back of the outside lane have moved to the inside lane, so they've shuffled a little bit. And I think this improves Clavett's odds a little bit in this melee, because the line that's now behind him is stronger than it was.
Some new blood now in that outside line. It's down to 3 of Caitlin Hyde, along with the 57 of Lily Frazier. So some new soldiers on that low line. And we'll see what happens. And Henderson likes his odds. He will now abandon. I was saying someone was going to have to do it eventually. Henderson wants to taste the silver fruit of leading this thing, and he will jump to the low side here with Clavett. So the veteran old guard still pushing forward here, leaving coast to coast. Now 1-3. That will promote Swatsworth and Braille 1 up in the outside line. Henderson likes his odds to lead the low train.
And this helps out for Denny a little bit, because he had been pushing Clavett all stage long. Now Denny can sit back a little bit and sort of help control the pace and the momentum of that inside lane. You're seeing what that's like right now, because into 1 and 2, they're level.
Well, hold up. Caleb Carter could be a bit of a factor here as he's about to go lap down. He's still not pulling off the racing surface. He's going to hold it.
Great. This is not going to be great. They've got to give a lot of leeway to that 55 car that they do not want to give. If I was Carter, I would have just taken the apron there and just gotten out of the way. Wygant gets moved. Wygant on the inside, on his own, 3 wide, in the wall, Meredith.
This doesn't usually end out well, but they're still got it straight.
How did they save that? Henderson now front of the field, 3 wide, Clavett in the middle.
Clavett got the soccer hole there. He got the worst of it, but that broke up the coast-to-coast front line here.
And it was self-inflicted.
Yeah.
It was self-inflicted. Front of the field now. It's a battle between Henderson and Meredith. Henderson at the line. He led that lap. Meredith and Arnold have to work together here, and Wygant has to help Henderson. He's blocked in. Because you know for a fact that Swatsworth the 18 is going to keep that hole between Arnold and himself closed tight. Prevent that coast-to-coast crew from making it back together. You do not want those 3 cars together. You want to keep them separate at this point. If Wygant drops back on that inside lane, that helps everyone on the outside lane that is not coast-to-coast, because they know that Wygant, the strongest car of the 3 so far tonight, is now out of the equation. They want to see that happen right now. Wygant fighting now on the wrong side of things in the inside lane. And trouble! Cars turned! And that is the big one down the back straightaway.
And I think Sosi was involved. I think. Someone was involved there, but it was definitely the 99 of Flores. 27 of Bailey Thompson's got some damage as well. 4 of Apperson's a bit slow. Looks like he's okay. But that was pure mayhem there at the very least. And you kind of see how it was playing out, that something like that was about to kind of kick off there. Basically the lighting the fuse of the kettle bomb.
So we'll take a look here, and again, this is Blowers, who's a little bit further back from the incident as it was happening. This is through turn 1 and 2. This is once again down the back straightaway. Out of 2 is where the trouble really begins. And you said this is Elias Flores where the trouble really kicks off here. Flores in the 33 of Gaiman there, side by side. Let's see if we can take this a little bit slow motion here.
Look how many playoff drivers are around him, depending on what happens here. This could spell doom and gloom.
And Clavett, Clavett tries shooting it 3 wide, and 100% Susie's involved in that. Clavett.
Sosi got the worst of it.
Wow.
Considering the luck he's had the past 2 weeks, that is not what you want to see if you're a fan of that number 81.
But this also bails out the field. Pit stops underway here, coming into with 41 laps to go.
That should be final pit stops.
And look who's leading the way. Blake Henderson gets lane choice here, and you can bet the 25 car is going to be choosing that outside lane. This is going to be wild.
I do want to go back to that almost incident we saw and how close we were seeing the big one at the front of the field, because I went back and looked at it while we were watching. Yeah, I'm going to kind of just vocalize it a little bit, just explain what happened. Meredith got in the corner panel bump of Wygant there, and that sent Wygant down. And in most situations, if that was the middle pack, Wygant hip checks the car on the low side, and that basically causes the big one. They both go into the grass, or one swings up, and, you know, pandemonium. But them leading the field, that sent Wygant down, and it was about maybe half a car length away from collecting Blake Henderson. So overall, it was very razors close that we saw an incident almost occur there. But at the end of the day, Coast to Coast did not get lined up the way they needed to, and one bump almost sent one to the infield care center. But luckily, we kept it green off that incident. We are now officially under caution here, but it was still could have been a lot worse for a lot of drivers.
Yeah, it definitely could have been. And thankfully, what could have been ended up being a pretty tame incident, all things considered here, coming to 39 laps to go. Dustin Hall now back only 1 lap down. DJ Anderson officially out of this race, the first retirement of this race after the lap 100 mark. 32 cars still going. Caleb Carter 4 laps down.
Yeah, this is the only retirement we have, like I said, was
Height just topped off with fuel.
Looks like the only retirement we have is DJ Anderson. Dustin Hall now officially almost 1 down, so if we get another caution.
He is 1 down, so he's really close.
Yeah, he get back on the lead lap. So it's a chance we'll see 31 cars unless we see multiple cautions. Carter's probably unlikely to get back on the lead lap. And like we said, Anderson the only retirement. Rest of the field, though, still running, which is risky because if you have a mistake now, some of those cars probably had to burn a fast repair like maybe Sosi did. This is risky because you don't know what you have. And if you wreck now, you may end up getting 30th place billing, 29th place billings, and that could be a lot of points left off the table if you're not careful.
Susi top 10 though at the moment, sort of just do and die at this point. He's got the buffer, feels pretty safe into this race, leading, and with a really good buffer over almost 30 points to the cut line. Henderson though on the wrong side of it. Green flag in the air and away we go. Henderson chose the inside lane on that restart. And now both him and Meredith go to the outside. It leaves Taltie Sharp, the Pied Piper, on the inside lane ahead of Jeremy Braille. The Unholy Union at the bottom of the racetrack at the moment, not where they want to be. Henderson's hoping that Pelletier, Sharp, and Braille do enough that it keeps Arnold and Meredith in line and keeps them from going to the inside to try to clear him. But honestly, Sharp tried
to follow up that line there, couldn't do it. Arnold, I think, was letting off just a bit to let Meredith in. Henderson was like, thank you very much. Probably why Henderson elected to stay on the low side there, just to ensure they would link up on the high side. But Henderson, the odd one out, even though they are Fords, obviously still not the most dynamic relationship here between the two of them. And we'll see in the low line with Sharp trying to move forward with Braille. Sharp looks like she'll take this lap here, and she's no stranger to photo finishes. That's coming to the line. Bet on her to take it. But with Braille in tow, who's had multiple second places this season, you know, he's hungry to finally get that first win in that number 44.
Yeah, side by side here. And remember, it's no longer this same sort of the chemistry we saw at the top of the board for the majority of this race. Wygant's 5th in line. Chad Swatsworth's between him and Josh Arnold. So even if it is Meredith and Arnold front of the field, Wygant's not there with them. And that's trouble. And that's a car in the wall there. That's Frazier in the wall. It's 57 of Frazier in the wall. They're 3 wide behind. Dotson in the middle. Peach on the inside lane. And Dotson gives up because he knows that the inside lane's gaining ground on them being further back.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing listening to radio chat here. Sosi trying to be the leader of that low line. directing traffic, kind of saying, hey, you can't do this, can't do that, if we want to make up the front and take a charge here, using that veteran leadership and that veteran know-how to try to maybe direct some traffic here to ensure he's got a chance to fight for the win. So overall, that low line losing a little bit of touch here, but trying to guide something forward here to get that lunge. But right now, it's still Henderson, Meredith, top two, Arnold staying in tow. And I do wonder, we saw it, that line falls enough back. Do we see a Wyjet maybe elect to jump to the low side here? Because coast to coast is second and third. If he can lead a train here, it could basically upset Henderson here and try to make it a race with coast to coast. So we'll have to keep an eye on that low line. If it falls back more, we may see someone make the Henderson move here.
Inside lane falling back. It would be Swatsworth if it was. Arnold peaks, but not going to do anything serious there. Because you definitely, with your teammates already strung out, you definitely don't want to make it worse. Henderson leads again. And for Henderson, this is going to be a sweet stat to look up. 11 laps led so far at home. Under the lights for the first time. At a race that means near and dear to him. And a race that is super important right now for his playoff chances if he wants to make the round of 8. And this is where it's very conflicting. All the drivers around him right now are on that cut line. Peltier Sharp into this race, 7th in points. Arnold into this race, tied level for 8. Same with Meredith. They're pushing someone right now who entered this race, 12th in points. That is the most uncomfortable feeling on the planet if you are on the inside and you see someone trying to push you out, and you have to help them right now. There's nothing you can do but help them.
Yeah. Honestly, looking at that top 10, the only playoff driver comfortably in the top 10 that's currently above the line is Sosi. Gaiman also below that line as well. So pretty much you got every driver on this list either on the bubble or below the line, needing a win or a good point. So there's no real...
pretty safe right now. He's top 4 in points. But him and Susie are in the same exact bubble right now. They're both sitting pretty deep in this field, where if trouble comes knocking, they're going to be the first to find it.
And that Sosi and Wyjet have their own checkered past as well. So if they get close, you may have to see one or two with the other. But right now, it's still Henderson, Meredith pushing, and you got to be a little wary. Meredith gave the bump.
You got to be very careful, because Henderson almost gave Meredith the outside lane and almost put himself in the middle. You can't do that. You 100% you cannot do that. This is where, of all times, if you're Blake Henderson, I know you've been chastised for mirror driving. You mirror drive the life out of that car right now.
Yeah, no,
because you do not put that car an inch away from where Meredith's car is. And this is
he did it again.
That's what he's doing. He's trying to side drive Peltier Sharp. He needs to stop doing that, or he's going to be stuck in the middle.
Yeah, he's going to get sucker holds.
He needs to stop trying to side draft.
Because remember,
right now Peltier Sharp knows that she's right now controlling the lines because she knows that Henderson's trying to side draft. Henderson needs to stop following Peltier Sharp. He needs to look at Meredith.
And we saw similar. Sharp has recollection. We saw Hall do that too. This time he's, bad bump there, but will at least stay high. We saw that what caused the incident with Hall and Sharp, where Hall tried to mirror drive a little bit, or sorry, Sharp went high, Hall tried to split it, and next thing you know, that caused the wreck that put Hall multiple laps down. So gotta be careful pitching the high line. We did see a car clip the wall in the high groove, gonna cause a little separation.
He backed up a little bit.
Yeah, now that low line, de-separated here. That's gonna give the high line some reprieve here. Sharp, Braille not linked in lockstep with Sosi in third. They're getting reorganized, so now Henderson go low, but all it takes is just one middle line too long, especially when we get to 10 to go. Meredith, remember, Season 2 champion's not going to sit around and follow you for 10 whole laps. If he can dispose of you and take the lead of the train, he's going to do it.
He peeks to the inside, but getting some clean air on the nose of that Ford. Peltier Sharp now level with Arnold, but top 2 still clear. At the moment, Peltier Sharp trying to make some inroads once again. Meredith able to play that side draft game. They'll side draft back and forth down to turn 4. Remember, Henderson's got to stay. He's got to stay on that outside lane. He's got to stay right on the nose of Meredith. Do not give Meredith anywhere to turn. Why are we saying this when there's still a little over 20 laps to go? because we are good to the end of the race on fuel.
Oh, caution! Frazier, and it looks like Denny were involved further back. Frazier way up the road here, hits the wall. Donaldson was involved. So actually, it was Donaldson, not Denny, that was involved in this incident. A few other cars slowing down here. Looks like Power Course may have had a bit of lag in that incident, but overall, that will bring the caution and send the field to neutral here as we get recycled.
And we'll take a look. Again, this is at the 57. See, there's Flowers in the 94, and you see just that 3 wide there with Gibney, Clavitt, and Apperson.
Be up the road here. See 3 wide. Oh, you see Blowers.
It's Roberg and Thompson.
Oh, it's Thompson. Oh, yeah, because Blowers just had.
Yeah, it's Blowers and Thompson there, and we'll kind of just groove up forward.
Mm-hmm.
Do it the hard way. Do it the Intertasm 3-way is what we'll do. And this is... Oh, that is...
Clear?
I don't think it's clear.
Code?
Oh, that is Thompson kind of just drifting down a little bit too much across Roberg's nose.
Mm-hmm. Right in the Jones, sends Jones down.
Jones almost went up and over off the nose of Caitlin Height.
Yeah, that's playoff implications right there. The 3 heavy damage.
That's really bad.
Sierra was also involved too, but she has that win, so not as important, but she got on the brakes.
That's rough.
Meanwhile, we do have some interesting information. Half the field electing to pit, half the field not pitting. We'll get to that in a second. If we take
the reason why is because they didn't have fuel for green-white checkers.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're comfortably in with time to move forward.
Yeah, so we'll take another look here.
Another look once again, and you're going to see the checkup here that allows the inside lane to be in trouble. Thompson, I don't think, is expecting Roberg to fill that gap the way he did. But Roberg had the space entering 1, and the space was open until the exit of 2.
Big lick for Height. You can see it hits it and it spacks it out. Jones as well. 2 heavy licks for both cars here.
Not what you want to see. Now back to live pictures here, and it's Bailey Thompson once again on pit lane. Not the only one. There's Callie Height. There's the 4 of Apperson. And I believe that's Dustin Hall also on pit lane. There's also Gary Donaldson on pit lane as well. Blake Henderson below the white line, I believe, just saving fuel at this point, not actually coming down pit lane.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Yeah, he's just saving fuel. Worth noting, cars that elected to come in, Wygant, Meredith, Arnold, all came in.
So interesting.
Caitlin Height also did too. She burned her fast repair, but I'm just saying she came in too. Unrelated to that, Dotson, Blowers, Gibney, Mongold also in.
I like those that came in. I do, but this is a caution that gave those that did not come in. This gives them 1 green-white checker.
Mm-hmm. It's risky. HTL's shown a history of making it to the line here on plate tracks without a caution. So I don't hate the call, but you're burying yourself in traffic here. But you will have fresher tires, but you'll be burying yourself in traffic to try to move forward. But if we get multiple cautions, they'll be sitting pretty. So right now, if you're a fan of the cars that came in, you want caution, but the problem is multiple cautions usually mean that you're likely to be involved in it, and when you go back with squirrels, you're likely to find a nut. So I don't like it per se, as I'd rather be ahead of the train than be in the middle, where if a big one happens, you're more likely to be involved.
Front of the field, Blake Henderson at home under the lights for the first time. Alongside Lily Pelletier-Sharp, who won the closest HTL finish in history just 6 days ago. Row 2, it's Jeremy Brayout and Chad Swatch with teammates for Arrowhead Racing, both battling to keep their playoff chances alive. Row 3, Josh Susie in the 81, Eli Satsk in the 9. A lot of playoff drivers all in the top 6. 9 of the top 10 are playoff drivers as the pace car comes down pit lane. Green flag back in the air, away we go, and what a restart by Henderson and by Brayout and by Sasek. They all get mountains clear of Pelletier-Sharp, who was asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, and Sharp on the radio.
Is just on a tear, magnetized the back of Henderson's bumper.
Mm-hmm. Reason Sharp didn't go. She was worried about getting a black flag and did not want to jump it there, but she got caught napping, and you see the effects on that. That checked up that low line even worse. So overall, that thing car way
to
off
the grass.
Yep.
And he saves it.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, well. Now there's a caution. So
yeah, the caution, we saw the caution there. That was for Clavitt, who got sent to the inside lane. And that is actually a little bit more going on, because now it's the same group. Donaldson, Roberg, Thompson, and Flores. And Dotson.
Actually, that was unrelated. Clavitt spun it, but that second incident was Flores just up the road. So that spin wasn't related. Flores actually had his own little piece with something.
So this is what happened to Clavitt. We'll
sorry, the caution. Actually, the caution's not for that. There's an incident with Wygent just up the road, so keep an eye on Wygent.
Yeah, so we're gonna keep 3 different things going on here. So let's keep an eye. So Clavitt happens first. So let's go ahead and
focus on that first.
Let's go ahead and address that real quick. So this is Clavitt. We'll just go ahead and play this in real time. He gets hooked. Yeah, he bounces off of Wygent and Arnold. That's how that happens. Wygent up the road. He's 3 wide. Oh, and that's where Dotson gets involved, because he's up and over Roberg. That's where this group gets involved.
Look at Callie split the difference there, and she was not lifting, and she split the middle there. And this is what I was talking about. If you go back with the danger zone, you could get involved, and look what happened to Wygent. Front end completely torn there, crinkled in, and that's going to be heavy damage to that 00.
Another look at it. Get some build up on this.
There's Clavitt getting a little dumped off the 3 there, trying to save it. And then we'll focus on that 00 here, coming up the zone.
Off of, Parker's getting into the wall.
Hits the wall.
Frazier saw a flash of lightning. Got lucky there.
Just an odd incident. Obviously, the caution was
target
probably
fixation.
not for
100% target fixation for Parker. As he's following the car in front, he's not paying attention to what's going on to the right side of his car there. He thinks he's got space, and he just runs out of it. And Wygent wears the worst of it, and that's the detriment for Wygent for coming in. And you mentioned it, kind of putting yourself into the wildfire. And there's your burn victim right there, Pacey Wygent. Most laps led. We're going to pull this stat up. That's not a pleasant stat if you're Pacey Wygent right now. 90 laps led and nothing to show for it.
And as well, if you can't, obviously I think he still has a fast repair in the tank, but he has to burn, again, that fast repair early. We don't know. 19 laps to go, another caution, you're involved. Yeah, you're going to bleed points and bleed them quickly, so you got to be careful. And right now, that's going to be at least a fast repair. You do not want to burn this early on. And now he's got one less.
And now he's got no help whatsoever. He's separated from Meredith. He's separated from Arnold. He's got to go on his own, and he does not have any friends down there. Byron Jones would have been his other friend, and he's on pit lane still, 6 laps down, still going through repairs for that 19 car. Now this will be interesting. Henderson in front of the field. He chose Eli Sasek to go with. Both Sasek and Sharp have been really slow on the restarts. Braille now front row is how things look at the moment. Susie and Smeal still row 3 together. That's how they were last restart. Gaiman and Denny row 4. So there's 4 Valfreya and Lady Liberty cars. The big Chevrolet conglomeration right there, rows 3 and 4. Keep an eye on them. Hunter Peach and Chad Swatsworth row 5. Keep an eye on those cars, the rows 3 and 4. The 81, the 8, the 33, and the 29. They could try to do some damage. Arnold and Meredith also just outside the top 10. They could try to do some damage and try to get back forward once again. Drivers have run out of fast repairs. They've run out of resources, and we're running out of time. Less than 20 laps to go here in Atlanta. Second race in the round of 16. Next week we head to the Bluegrass State, to Kentucky Speedway. But who's going to have the advantage getting there? We're going to find out here. Green flag back in the air, and away we go. 17 laps to go.
launched by Henderson. He'll have his choice of the litter. Does he go high or low? Look at that separation. Inside line, more monopolized right now.
That's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to block off Sasic.
Look at Sosi.
Yeah, you look at the teammates there, but you look at the group on the outside lane. Braille's a really good pusher. Sasic's good when he's got support. It's 3 on 4. And here comes the cavalry on the outside lane. Peach looks to the inside now. Oh, is the Lady Liberty group going to clear?
They're
very close, and they do. Henderson, no help. Susie to the front.
Danny going to go around 2.
They've got no help. Pelletier Sharp's not getting the Sasic because there's no help.
Pelletier just ditched. Yeah, Henderson's falling back the order along with Sasic. They got left out to dry, like back closing the line. Zier involved. Still green though.
Somehow still green, and now the caution's out.
Yeah, Zier stopped out of 3 and 4. And that, Henderson goes from leading now to 7th. Sasic down to 9th. Braille now outside the top 10.
Yeah, honestly, this caution helps Henderson. It stops the bleeding. Because he was going to be out of the top 10 in no time. So let's take a look at this. From the wide shot. This is Wygen and Zier all over.
Wygen
looks to the middle.
Desperation.
The Cali High side drafts.
Yeah.
Ooh, hard hit for Zier. Oh, the inside lane. Yeah, that tight trying to side draft came right off the wall down to the middle lane where Wygen was. See if we get another look at that from the replay, but that is 100% on the 15 car, just trying to side draft when the space was filled. We're going to slow it down here and just see if we can actually get a really good camera angle on this. Good old chopper cam. Let's bring this out for the first time tonight. So you see the 15, the 00. This is at a turn number 4, so we'll go ahead and speed this up a little bit because it's not here.
Yeah, you also see Kelly blinking a little bit.
Gaps open, gaps open, gaps open. His teammate, look at the 17.
Just
right in front
there.
of him. That's what he's looking at right now. Meredith's saying, I'm going middle. Wygen's like, cool, I'm there. And he is. And then Height just drifts right down to the middle lane and keeps moving down. And just draws that contact there. That is 100% on the 15, unfortunately. First race back and already in trouble for the 15 car of Cali Height in 3 months.
Showing some of that rust, at the very least, that it takes a while to shake off. So now Wygen basically back to square one, now back to 24th. So overall, did not gain anything, now less lap to try to carve upward. Back up front, Sosi now leads the way with Smeal, Gaiman, Denny, Peach, your top 5. Now this gets interesting because Sosi obviously has gone from high to low in this race. He's been back to front, getting a win here with basically, even though he's pretty much got a 30-point cushion, with basically less sweat going into next week in Kentucky. Then you got Smeal, who's been in a fill-in role in that number 8, trying to get his first win here. Gaiman obviously won at Wilkesboro in the regular season, but obviously lost a lot of points after Darlington, could really use a win. And then Alfred Denny, who hasn't won yet and is just trying to find his way to victory lane here.
Yeah, Gaiman's win at Rockingham, a really big game changer for his season here in the HTL Cup Series. Everyone getting organized behind the race leaders. It's teammates first through 4th. And now this is an even more dangerous combination because now you've got 4 cars that can really game this restart and put 4 cars in on the outside lane. We saw how good they were on the inside lane. Outside lane is still better. Henderson just had no help on that last restart from Pelletier Sharp or from Sasic, who, as we mentioned, 2 of the worst plate race performing drivers on the calendar in the Cup Series.
Shocking, because Braille was there too. Braille was obviously hit the wall a little bit.
Braille had no help from Pelletier Sharp.
Yeah, and then
so that's where it falls apart.
Yeah,
because you need a cohesive group, and it wasn't that because Pelletier Sharp wasn't in it. And this is if the moment Sasic wins on a plate track, the world's going to come to an end.
I'll have to check the doomsday clock if that happens. We'll move it another 10 seconds closer. Yeah, 10 seconds closer to midnight.
Here we go. What could be the last restart. Well, a lot of drivers are hoping it's the last restart. Coming to 12 laps to go. It's Susie, Smeal, Game and Denny, top 4. Trying to sweep the podium, and they tried to game the restart, and they were pretty successful there. They just got to get Smeal to let them up, and bingo.
Yeah, Gaiman was all over the back of that 81. He was basically, as soon as it went go, Gaiman went first, and so it's like, just push me.
And no shout out to Pelletier Sharp, who was actually on that restart, not terribly, but now it's a 4-on-1 fight. It's really 6-on-1, because Josh Arnold would be absolutely foolish right now to step out of that group and let Caitlin Height make it a 5-car lineup. And you see what that looks like. The inside lane's got there's no confidence right now in that inside lane. With Peach and with the Pelletier Sharp, there's nothing there for them.
Like, yeah, Parker's coming, and then after that, maybe Gibney was thinking about going low, but he's high on the high side.
He's going low just because the rest of his team's already up there. Like, he's got nothing to go for at this point. He's just seeing what happens. Caitlin Height goes to the inside.
She wants to win her teammates. Yeah.
And this is interesting.
I don't hate this call because you're trying to box out the front row. If you can lock up
If you can lock Arnold and Henderson to that outside lane and keep them stuck up there, you know that they're not moving forward, and you're going to keep gaining points on those that you need to. It's not a bad call, and especially for Alpha Denny. Right now, you're looking at almost a guaranteed top 10. Knock on wood.
But at the same point, I do wonder with Denny. I have to check the points real fast, but coming in tonight being 13 back, Arnold almost hits the wall. So Denny, it's good points, and he got some good stage points, but there's that hunger knowing that he has not won how long, won it all, knowing that, hey, I don't want to find victory lane, but right now, in a bit of a box, there's not much you can really do.
Oh, the outside lane, though, not as put together as it was on that last restart. Caitlin Height getting to the front of the field, trying to find victory lane once again as the winningest Cup Series driver in history, gets to the front, and immediately goes to the outside lane. 5 cars in a line for Lady Liberty and Valfreya. And it's the 3 of Caitlin Height. From 8th to 1st.
Peach will split it up, though. He will jump. Actually, it wasn't Peach. Sorry, it was Gaiman that jumped up, so never mind. Peach will fall back. You can see Arnold, though, knowing he's got nothing to lose. He will go low, but this is a Herlian task to break up the Lady Liberty Valkyrie Motorsports.
This is where it makes sense. He was 6th in line on the outside lane. Now at least he's got a chance to battle for the podium. At least he's got a chance to fight for it. Like, you're net gaining here as it sits, because you've got someone like Connor Peach behind you too. And you know that the inside lane, they've got to use the inside lane at some point here to make things happen. With less than 10 laps to go in this race.
It's worth noting, Sosi obviously wants to win with the cushion as he's maybe laying second. Gaiman obviously no such reprieve. If that hole opens, he will fill it. So Smeal as well. So I don't see, like I said, Sosi and Height would probably be comfortable keeping it 1-2, but you know, Gaiman and Smeal, they're not thinking the same thing. They want to be loyal to the end, but there's an open hole. They are gonna take it, and that low line now losing charge and losing it quickly, losing more and more spots. So the question is,
well, you look further back. It's 3 wide the further back you are, and that affects the inside lane the worst, because the side draft that we talk about affects the right side of the cars. Outside lane is protected. The right side car of the car is against the wall. If you're on the inside lane, you've got 2 lanes of cars now on your right side, all of them side drafting off each other. It's a giant parachute. It's like a hot air balloon. You just get slower and slower and slower as you fall.
Yeah.
That's Zier on the inside lane, just staying out of the way. Already a race winner, just needs to start Kentucky, and she's locked in.
Yeah, do not want to say the rules.
Swatsworth! Huge tank slapper off the wall there. That was nasty.
Mowed that thing down. Yeah, mowed that thing down. Gotta hope the steering is not bent in that machine. Inside line charging back. Hunter Peach, remember, won this race in the spring. He knows what he has to do to win here. Can he get the cavalry with Sharp and Parkers on the low side to try anything to break up that 3?
Joshua Arnold, 38 races in HTL Cup competition without a race win. He's got the 20 of Hunter Peach right on that back bumper. He led that lap. 4 laps to go, 3 to go now.
Oh, look at Hall. He's in the top 10 after all the race he's went through.
That is insane for Dustin Hall back on the lead lap. He's got something to say. Huge side draft. The 81 and the 2 make contact.
Oh, Hall got squirrely. Meredith going low, trying to make it 3 wide.
This is going to be scary. Do they make it back? Coming in 2 laps to go. The pressure is on. And there's trouble.
Braille.
It's in the wall. Caution's out. We will have overtime.
Yep.
Huge crash there. Swatsworth was in it. I believe I would have to look and see. That would have been Dotson, one of the cars involved.
Braille wasn't involved. We know that.
Yeah, Braille went up and over.
Yeah. Let's see. We'll find out in a second here, but I think it was a lot of white cars, so.
This is green flag still out.
What
this
it is?
White flag.
All right, white flag. Okay,
One lap
keep going.
to go. Caution did not come out for that. Holy cow.
Oh,
Everyone was racing like there was caution out, and now it's a green flag. And they are wrecking behind.
Yeah, for record, it was Braille and Dotson involved, but we're racing to the finish here. Gaiman going to try to push it off. Height going to block low. As it come off of 4, probably the easiest win Valkyrie's going to have. Gaiman going to try to make a split low, but it's going to be close, but not enough. Height will take the victory. Gaiman second, Denny third, Sosie fourth, Smeal fifth. But
how was that not a caution?
You had 2 cars on the wall in the catch fence. You had 2 cars over. You had Dotson wheels up crossing the start-finish line with 3 to go.
Holy cow.
You can even see the slow cars there on the low line just trying to limp around.
Just limping around here at this point. They were all over the racetrack. Instead, it's Kayla Knight after one of the most chaotic races in Atlanta history. What should have been an overtime restart. Kayla Knight walks away with the race win and an absolutely dominant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Lady Liberty, Valkyrie Motorsports, and Chevrolet. And it's Kayla Knight, the race winner tonight.
That late run killed momentum. Obviously saw the ends with Gibney. It basically separated the pack here, making it just 5 Valkyrie Lady Liberty cars and Blake Henderson fighting it out there at the end.
At least Blake Henderson got a decent result tonight at home. Holy cow.
We were talking replay. I was about to bring up the point that Lady Liberty Valkyrie was going to lock up the first 2 rows and decide what they want to do. But no, we were still green.
They were still green coming to the white. I was like, wow, they're really quick coming to the caution flag here. Oh, that's not caution flag. That was insane.
Now, for record, it's iRacing cautions and controls on the line.
Yeah, so iRacing never called it.
Yeah, and there's no race control deemed because obviously the race control is racing in the race. So that is not on race control. That is iRacing just saying that's
saying you can ride the fence.
Yeah, because we saw Rail and Dotson get basically one was one way and one was the other way. They were touching wheels, and yet we stayed green. And you can see right now 17 of Meredith just limping across the line here, just trying to finish.
So let's see if we can jump back here. We're going to have to do a couple of jumps here at the end of this race. Obviously, still kind of jumping through all the hoops that come with this. So bear with us because we're jumping in 60-second intervals. So we're trying.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go one more back here, I think. There we go.
So let's go ahead and talk about this here, because this is where it reaches Insano World. So this is the 44 of Jeremy Braille, who finishes 14th tonight.
Yes.
Side by side, there's Dotson in the 31. He's going to be critical to this too.
Yeah, it's going to be the next lap here. See, cars racing aggressively. Hall makes that move to make it 3 wide on Meredith. You see, Meredith gets sucker hold. Now coming down the backstretch here. Again, focus on Braille and Dotson. There's the little contact I saw. I thought we were going to see chaos happen. Meredith squeezes way back in, still on the low side.
That's a really big move. It's a really bold move by the 44, and you see, the impetus of all of this. Mongold and Parkhurst.
Yeah, the soda sponsors got into each other a little bit. That sent Parkhurst down, but even then, that doesn't play this factor. Braille gets a little squirrely.
Up and over, both of them on their side.
Dotson was on top of Braille. Braille keeps it going. Dotson keeps it going.
They never completely came to a stop. So iRacing let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
Any other series, if this was race control, if this was a real-life series, that would have been an insta caution. We see a car going wheels to the catch fence, but iRacing, we keep it going. Yeah, so you can see then we race on.
And this is where we get to the white flag. And this is where Dustin Hall gets bit.
Yeah.
Right here.
Well, give me Meredith.
He gets turned and right back up the racetrack there. And that's behind basically the entire Lady Liberty and Valfrey crew.
Yeah. There's
Holy
nothing
cow.
worse being backwards on the last lap as the field drives away.
Wygen recovers pretty well, so does Josh Arnold. But you see the group there, and not a whole lot you can do in that situation, unfortunately. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was a crazy finish there. Obviously, Braille obviously going to bleed some points a little bit, finishes 14th, but that's going to shake this playoffs up quite nice. The one thing we can confirm, as long as Caitlin Height starts Kentucky along the Lilacs here, they will both take up 2 of the 8 spots, making the playoffs in 2 weeks' time at Watkins Glen. So they both will have their seats at the table confirmed, bearing a start next week. Who will be the other 6 that will follow suit? We'll find out in due time. But first, we have top 3 interviews coming up in just a second here. We'll try to flag down our top 3 here and hear their thoughts. Speaking of, we found our 3rd place finisher, Alfred Denny. Alfred, how you doing?
Not too bad, you?
I'm doing fine as well. Very eventful race here. But let's talk about the beginning of this. We saw in the first 2 stages. What was your strategy coming to tonight? Is obviously you needed a somewhat decent haul, not too far away from the cut line, but you did need to get some good stage points. So what was your strategy in the first 2 stages?
Well, I was hoping to get up front and, just stay away from the wrecks out front, but got caught in one in the first stage. Kind of took away any chance for stage points there, and then second stage turned into more don't destroy the car. If the stage points were there, we'd go for them, but didn't work out that way. We were in the second pack after the pit stop, so just went for it all at the end and hoped that we ended up with a good finish, which we did for once.
Speaking of, obviously, you're in that was with Valkyrie Motorsports partnered with Lady Liberty. We saw in the late run where it cycled up. So obviously, not to meet Seymour's were any play here, but what was the mindset in that chat going on with those laps closing out from 10 to 5? What was the mindset? Were you ready to make a move? Were you just going to stay loyal? What was going through the chat's mind, as your guys' chat's mind when those laps were ticking down?
Max points, don't wreck each other, but me and Gaiman obviously were the ones that needed to win probably the most, being below the cut line. But it was, if you get the runs, take it, and there was no, pull over, let anybody, anything like that. We were just like, see what happens, but get a good team finish, which I think we sweep the top 5, at least the top 3, I know.
Yeah, you sweep the top 5 because it was Height, Gaiman, Denny, Sosi, Smeal. Henderson was the first non-Valkyrie Lady Liberty car, so unconventional top 5 sweep there. Moving onward, I do got to ask, in the rearview mirror, we saw that incident with Braille and Dotson. Did you see any of it from your mirror? Did you think a caution was coming, or were you just so hyper focused that you were racing regardless of what? I'm not stopping until I see yellow, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. I'd seen some smoke and glanced at the track map and saw a couple cars slowed, but didn't really have time to worry about that. It wasn't in front of me, so it wasn't my concern at that point. It was just get as many spots as we could.
Obviously, we'll go into the last question here. Obviously, next up on the road is Kentucky. Obviously, we don't have the math in front of us, but at the moment, I would assume you're still probably below the line, but maybe in a decent shout. First of all, do you like Kentucky? Do you think the track can be successful at? And secondly, what's the mindset going into the Kentucky next week?
Well, it's better than having to go to a road course, so I'll take that. If we can, get some stage points, that'd be great. Otherwise, just try not to wreck and maybe hope some other people that are around that cut line have some bad luck. I think, we'll just give it what we got. It's going to be a tough cut line regardless.
Yeah, it's going to be a duel to the finish. Is there anyone you want to thank? Family, friends, sponsors, whatever? The floor is yours. Take it away.
My wife, of course, for not complaining too much when you do race every week. And then everybody over at GRD. Without them, I don't think we'd even be in the chase. Shout out to Blake for giving me a push there at the end. He was trying to get me up there. So, and then you all for broadcasting, like always.
Well, it's been great talking to Alfred Denny. We wish you luck going into next week. Hopefully you can get in that top 8. But regardless, you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
You too.
And that was our 3rd place finisher, Alfred Denny. And that will move us nicely up to the ladder to our 2nd place finisher, Josh Gaiman. And we'll hear his thoughts now. Josh, this is Kevin, the ABN booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, obviously, again, a very eventful finish, but we got to start at the beginning again. And we saw in the first 2 stages, again, I asked Denny this question. I'll ask you the same question. Obviously, our top 3 are pretty much in the same chat for the most part. So what was your mindset in the first 2 stages? Obviously, after Darlington kind of went metaphorically up, what was the mindset? Get stage points or just survive to the end?
I was hoping to get really good stage points through both the stages. The first stage, I kind of got pushed back, just stuck on the outside with nowhere to go. So eventually, I just kind of tried to keep the car clean as possible. And then the second stage, I had a way better shot at it. So just went back to the original plan and did what I could to get all the points I could. Just to set up really good for the end of the race there, and we did excellent at that.
Yeah, you did quite well. Obviously, we saw it play out. Moving further on, you probably kept your car relatively clean throughout the night. And then with 20 to go, Valkyrie-Lady Liberty, next thing you know, they find themselves in the top 5. So I asked Denny this question. I'll probably ask Caitlin the same question as well. But mindset with 20 to go here, was it like Denny was saying, just don't wreck each other, hang on, and maybe with 2 to go, make a move or something?
Yeah, I mean, up until the huge crash happened right there at the end, it was pretty much just stay in line and go fast. And then I saw, the opportunity there at the end to get a couple more points, and I'm in a position where I need to, and as long as I didn't wreck anybody, there's no hard feelings.
Obviously, moving on, I again asked Danny's question. I'll ask you the same one as when we saw the smoke behind you. Was it a similar thing where you were just focused ahead, or were you wondering maybe there should have been a caution coming out, or were you just going until you saw a yellow or a checkered, whatever came up?
Yeah, I kept my foot in it until the spotter said something. It's kind of weird that the caution didn't come out. They're all up in the fence and everything, and I guess because nobody spun, it didn't even bother or recognize that it was a crash. So yeah, I stayed in it, and we just kept our line as straight as possible so we can keep our speed up.
Well, it worked out quite nicely there, and I guess on that point there, coming to the line there, we saw you pull out. Were you just hoping to try to side draft? Were you hoping for something, or did you kind of know, hey, second was what I was going to get when you pulled out of 3 and 4?
Yeah, I didn't have the run that I wanted, and I was a little too close to Caitlin, so I just kind of stayed in it as much as I could and tried to, shoot the gap through the dog leg to see if maybe I can make a better run at it, and got close, but just, that extra hair I needed to get by her there, which just wasn't there.
Well, obviously next week is Kentucky coming into that race again. You again have to do the math. We'll have to see how the standings play, but presumably you'll be close to the line, maybe a little under, but you'll be within a manageable distance. So what's the strategy going into Kentucky? Obviously, you have success in these kind of 1 mile short tracky, medium range tracks. So what's the mindset going into Kentucky? Obviously you want to win, but do you think it's a track we can see you get a good run to make the top 8?
Yeah, I've done good there in the past. It's really it's definitely a track where you got to keep the tires on it just because it's old and bumpy and beat up, and it's definitely a lot of fun with this car. So, just keep the tires on it and try to keep it up front as much as possible.
Well, obviously we've gotten to the part where anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, whatever. The floor is yours. Take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go ahead and I'll shout out all of GRD. Whether it's Valfreya or Lady Liberty, we worked super well together tonight, and it was just good to have everyone be able to bunch up and be where we planned to be for once, instead of getting all split up at the end of the race. I'll shout out Nitro Racing, shout out 213 Simware, W Energy, and y'all for putting on these broadcasts, and the HTL guys for putting on the series.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Josh. We wish you well going next week if you can make the top 8. But regardless, you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Me too.
And that was our second place finisher, Joshua Game, and that moves us with one more driver to go. It's going to be our winner here tonight. We'll hear from Caitlin Height now. Caitlin, it's Kevin A. Booth. You got a copy?
Hi, hello.
Alrighty, obviously, again, we got to start at the beginning with all the things we do with these things. And we look at the first 2 stages, and you were in a similar kind of mindset. You obviously had a little bit more of a cushion per se coming in tonight, obviously only 18 above the line. So how did that affect your driving a little bit, knowing you had that push, as you didn't have to really worry about stage points? Were you still just doing what you needed to do, or were you trying to stage point on a little bit?
Really, my whole goal was to try and actually be up towards the front for most of the night, just because of how this package on this track is. It's difficult to pass, and you have just so much massive side draft from people that it just slows everyone down, that, you know, if you get too far back, it's sort of good luck getting to the front. So, and with all the checking up, I don't know, I just sort of was slowly falling back because it would just open up holes and people would get in, and I wanted to get enough stage points so I could just maybe relax a little bit, because I didn't want to go into next week feeling like I really had to think about points. But I picked up like 2.5 minutes of damage in the middle of, I think, stage 2. And that actually really affected the car, but I was able to drive up to like, what, 5th at the stage break there, and just sort of try and slowly repair it. But it was just, I had no business in this race getting up here.
Mm-hmm. I was going to just bring up, kind of leech off that statement you just said there. We saw you get that big hit late on, even later on. We saw you burn the fast repair. So mindset without that fast repair, 20 to go, because obviously it worked out near the end. But were you a bit concerned when you had to burn that fast repair? Was it changing your style, or were you just, regardless, I'm driving hard to get the win?
I wanted to try and get up with more of my teammates, but it was just, you know, you have like a group of teammates and then 10 other cars right in between you, and you have to figure out how to actually work up there. And I got lucky by avoiding some crashes and getting into good lanes on restarts, and then just, you know, on the final restart, just having Peach push me all the way up to the lead to where I could clear Sosi and just get in front of him, so we could have our entire group just leading the high side and just sort of really dictating how that was going. So really, like, Hunter pushing me was a huge help to actually, like, ultimately get me up here, which, like I said, or as you were asking, just the last 20 laps, if I couldn't have gotten up there, I would have just been, like, on edge the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of those last 5 laps, I always saw that incident behind you. Obviously, we've heard the opinion, probably just focusing going forward. But we got to talk about, obviously, with Lady Liberty Valkyrie having that top 5, top outside line locked up. You knew you were kind of a sitting duck at least a little bit. So what was your mindset in that last lap? How were you thinking about blocking, making that car wide to make this thing a winning move to bring this car home in victory lane?
Well, once I heard that there was a big wreck or something in turn 1 after the light, I was just sort of thinking, okay, whatever happens, happens. I know I'm leading. Somebody's going to try and get a run, but we're all teammates, so it doesn't really matter. So, but I saw Gaiman pull down low. Sosi was really far off my bumper, so I just thought, you know, we have half a lap. As great as it would have been to see Gaiman or Denny get the win, I almost feel like I stole it.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, you may have stole it, but regardless, a win is still a win. And speaking of, obviously, going to next week, first off, we got to make sure you're going to attend Kentucky. Because I'll ask, you are planning to race Kentucky to make sure that win counts to make the next round. And if you do race Kentucky, how do you feel that as a track? Do you think this is maybe a track we'll see you go back to back at?
It's another 1.5 miles. I love those types of racetracks, so I want to try and do as best as I can, but since I don't have to worry, I really don't have to take any risks. Or if I do take a risk, at least it's not going to bite me, but I just want to go out there and finish as best as I can.
That's a great mindset to have, and a lot of drivers probably share that sentiment. But we've always got to the point where, does anyone want to thank family, friends, sponsors, whatever? The floor is yours. Take it away.
I just want to thank the entire GRD organization for getting all of us to really work well together. It's been great. Shout out to HTL admins. everyone involved with the ABM broadcasting always being here. Welcome back, Callie. It was really awesome to see her on track again. And I want to also thank Lexi, Chrissy, Emily. I also want to thank Ray for tuning in. Awesome that everybody can just sort of be here to just sort of like really celebrate.
Well, it's been great talking to you. We wish you well next week. Obviously, with that win in the back pocket, we'll see you in the round of 8. So you take care. Have a good rest of your week.
Great, thank you.
And that was our winner here tonight, Caitlin Height. And now we will send it back up to Carmen for the closing remarks.
An absolute wild race here this evening. Obviously, an incredible night of racing. A wild finish on that as well. For Caitlin Height, it bails her out and gets her one step closer to the championship for once again. Let's go ahead and go through the full results here tonight. And again, it is a wild time just kind of walking through and breaking down all the results that we have here this evening. Caitlin Height, Josh Kamen, Alfred Denny, part of the Valfreya and Lady Liberty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is a gnarly stat to look at there. Just that complete domination there. Blake Henderson, 100th race start in the HTL Cup Series at home, under the lights. He gets a top 10, 6th place here in Atlanta for him. Blake Henderson 6th. Austin Mongo, as we mentioned, there in 7th place. Lee Frazier 8th place. A good result here at Atlanta once again. Eli Sasek top 10, as well as Shad Swatsworth, a much needed result for both of them. Pacey Wygant, Josh Arnold, not a top 10 given how dominant they were early in this race, but still surviving for a top 12 finish for both of them. Looking further down the order, Zach Apperson, Jeremy Braille, Richard Odie, Mark Parker's your top 16. Hunter Peach, Lily Pelletier Sharp, Bailey Thompson, and Gary Donaldson top 20. But this is where you see all the melee that took place there. Braille, despite climbing over a race car and riding the fence, ends up in 14th place out of all of that. Outside the top 20 is Bobby Blowers, Kevin Gibney Jr., Dean Clavitt, and Dustin Hall from pole position to 25th tonight, because they inverted 24th place off of that list. It was Zach Merida in 24th, Callie Height 26th, Martin Roberg 27th, Lilac Zier 28th. And we see some of the early retirements in this race. DeMonte Dotson could not get to the checkered flag. Caleb Carter, Elias Flores, Byron Jones, and DJ Anderson, the 33rd and final car classified in this race. A wild race here in Atlanta. We get to move from the chaos to a little bit more controlled status when we go to Kentucky tomorrow night for the HTL Hammerdown Truck Series, as they continue their chase for the championship there on Tuesday nights. No racing on Wednesday nights, so no ABN Champ Car on Wednesday night. We go back at Motegi September 18th. But a lot of racing, a lot of fun up until then. We get to come back also as well. We get to come back on Sunday. Also race on ABN Sport Studios on YouTube for the RX for Cup Series. Winstall Cup Series back in action at Kansas on Sunday as well, right here on ABN 1. But a relatively easy week. Get to take it easy, get to have some fun in the week coming up here. For everyone that tuned in tonight to be a part of the coverage here for the HTL Cup Series, it has been phenomenal, top to bottom. Again, a fun night. Really fantastic. All things said here this evening. On behalf of everyone here for ABN Studios, for everyone at Henderson Graphics, the HTL Cup Series, everyone here at ABN Studios and ABN Esports 1, my commentator Kevin Young, I'm Carmen Sienna. Thank you all so much. We'll see you again tomorrow night right here on ABN 1 from Kentucky Speedway. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, have fun in the week ahead. We'll see you next time at the racetrack. So long, everybody.